Underdog Fantasy was offering to match your first deposit up to $100. Watch a lot of football. Maybe I can finally make back some of the money I've spent over the years supporting my stupid, shitty team.
Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. $5, get $200 back. $250 up to $500.
Up to $2,000.
Online sportsbooks know that the best way to get people addicted to their product is to make that first big win as easy as possible. So they'll lure you in with an offer that seems too good to be true, because all of that is pennies compared to what they're raking in from the people who are hooked. They give you free money to start with. They'll let you try again if your first bet doesn't work. They'll let you throw in one leg of a parlay that has essentially a 100% chance of hitting. They are desperate to make sure you have a good time. They want every time you see that app icon on your phone to think about the rush you felt when you turned $5 into $100, so you keep chasing that feeling forever. I just managed to outsmart them by being so unbelievably bad at sports betting that I never even came close to winning. But because I was curious to see how much online sports gambling has evolved since I tried it a couple years ago, and because I would never leave a stone unturned in the pursuit of research, I decided for this video I should try it one more time. So I signed up for the only legal sports book in my home state of Florida, which I assume is named after famous internet sex symbol Hard Rock Nick.
Balls tugged on one by one.
Their introductory offer is that they'll give you another chance to bet if your first one doesn't win. On the surface, that almost sounds like free money, but it's not like you can bet once, lose, and then just take your money back. You still have to give them the money. You're probably just gonna lose twice for the price of one. But hey, check this out. I've already unlocked a 1x multiplier, which means for every dollar I earn, I walk away with $1. I spent the next 12 minutes hard at work concocting the smartest and most guaranteed parlays the world has ever seen. With all my bets placed, I could finally sit back, relax, and enjoy a stress-free Sunday afternoon.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Why did I bet on Sam Darnold? Why did I bet on Kirk Cousins? Why did I take the over on Curtis Martin rushing yards? He retired in 2007.
The next few hours felt like a roller coaster, but in spite of it all, I was determined to come out on top.
Guess who has 2 thumbs and just won $9.52? This guy. My other thumb's holding the phone.
I was down, but now I'm
And since I only lost 5 other bets, I was just $61 from breaking even. Now I know what you're thinking, Drew, how could you have possibly known the Bills were gonna beat a team significantly worse than them? What are you, some kind of genius? No. I prefer savant. The truth is, none of this would have been possible without my good luck charm, Michael McCorkle Jones. You can look it up, that's his real name. Ever since I saw him hit the gritty at the Pro Bowl a few years ago, I knew I needed a metal poster of him to hang up on my wall. And thanks to today's sponsor, Displate, that's finally possible. Are you tired of waking up to your boring, empty walls? You try to hang up posters, but your hammer didn't come with instructions, so you don't know how to use it. Well, why don't you go ahead and throw that thing in the trash? Because you don't need one to hang up a display. Displates are high-quality metal posters that help you show off all your favorite interests, whether it's Elden Ring, Halo 3, or a minion from the movie Minions. And the best part is you can hang them up in a matter of seconds without any tools and without putting any holes in your walls. Displate has over 2 million artworks to choose from, including tons of officially licensed designs from brands like Marvel, Star Wars, and Minions from the movie Minions. They've even got a product called Textra that brings your posters to life with tactile textures and 3D contours. Finally, a poster that's fun to touch. If you've been procrastinating your holiday shopping, there's never been a better time to snag a Displate. Not only are they great gifts for anyone in your life, but they're celebrating Black Friday with their biggest discount of the year. You can get up to 44% off your order by going to the link in the description, displate.com/DrewGooden, or by using my code DREW at checkout. Thank you so much to Displate for sponsoring today's video, which unfortunately will now continue. All right, so I've been using this app for a little over a week now, and even though I did win a few more bets, all I've really managed to do is turn my initial $100 into 0. It's all gone. I think they know they're on the verge of losing me for good because they're really ramping up the notifications. Most days I'm getting at least one every hour. They even offered me another second chance bet, this time up to $500. They are so confident based on everything I've shown them so far that it seems they're willing to give me any amount of money because it doesn't matter, I'm just going to lose it all anyway. Even in my very limited time using this app, I can already see the traps they're setting for me, and I am falling for them. For some reason, I've done multiple parlays that are contingent upon something happening at the beginning of a game. They offer a bunch of bets that are based on first quarter stats, and I realized firsthand why they do this. Because that one leg can cook your entire parlay immediately. But at that point, you've already committed to betting on this game, and there's so much more game to bet on. So you do. And before you know it, you're betting on Keyshawn George to make 5 threes? Why did I do that? I don't even know who that is. Why did I think Jake Paul was gonna knock out Mike Tyson? That fight was never ending in a knockout. They punched each other like 4 times. Obviously, they were just in it for the money, and I knew that going into it. I only did this bet because they boosted my odds, and they only boosted my odds because they knew it wasn't going to happen anyway. It's 2024. How am I still getting scammed by Jake Paul? And on the flip side, when I do win a bet, sometimes I'm not even that happy about it because I'm just like, I should have bet more. You start getting carried away doing the math. I turned $10 into $30, but I could have turned $100 into $300, $1,000 into $3,000. Oh my God. It's infinite money. And I think that's one of the most dangerous things about gambling is that sometimes it works. It's a hobby that technically could go well for you if you get very lucky and quit at the exact right time, which you won't, and the casinos are banking on the fact that you won't. Problem gamblers aren't just chasing a feeling, they're chasing this idea that maybe they'll win the lottery. A lot of gamblers can recognize that they have a problem, but see the problem as the way out of the problem.
I think the feeling at the time was if you can just get lucky here somewhere, then potentially there's a way of making this
all go away.
I suppose the flip side to that as well, Aaron, is it was enabling me to just gamble as much as I wanted as well.
If I just have one good day, I can win it all back. Yes, I've dug this huge hole for myself, but if I just keep digging, I might be able to find that diamond I've been desperately searching for. But the sad reality is, even if you find the diamond, you're just gonna feel so good doing it that you'll probably dive right back into the mines looking for another one.
The truth is, if I'd have had that big win, I would have just spent it anyway.
A lot of the higher-ups at these companies will refuse any responsibility for creating new gambling addicts over the past few years. They'll make the argument that they're just addicted to their phone, and our app just happens to be on it.
I don't believe that there is an addiction to mobile betting any more than there is an addiction to utilization of your phone for any other reason.
You don't think adding a layer of betting makes the phone more addictive than just tooling around Instagram?
No. There is problem gambling. It is a real problem. Whether it's gotten bigger or it's just become more noticeable because sports betting is legal, I think is an unknown.
Really?
Hey, they'd be gambling anyway. Whether it's on our app that sends 30 push notifications a day and is linked to their bank account, or only available in a state on the other side of the country, is totally irrelevant. And while there are obviously some people for whom that is true, you cannot deny the fact that making it so goddamn easy to bet anything at any time is leading to more people gambling who wouldn't have otherwise. You're dangling a piece of candy inches away from people's faces and then saying, hey, it's not our fault they grabbed it. They still would have grabbed it even if it was 2,000 miles away. Since this is all still relatively new in the US, maybe we'll see more legislation in the future to combat this avalanche. In some countries, they no longer allow celebrities to appear in sportsbook ads, or they've banned the ads from appearing during sporting events altogether. America is still in this Wild West infancy where all these apps are just scrambling to find a way onto your phone before regulations start kicking in. But maybe in the future? Nah, I'm gonna be honest, it's hard to imagine that happening. I think it's too late to put the toothpaste back in the tube. The leagues are making too much money off it already. Of course they want to shove betting apps down everyone's throats. It gives people more of a reason to watch the games, especially bad ones. While most people would turn off a 20-point blowout in the fourth quarter, you're still glued to the screen because you need CeeDee Lamb to get 12 more yards for your parlay to hit. They've figured out a way to make every moment matter, even if it doesn't.
You want to make every game interesting? Step one, open the BetMGM Sportsbook.
You know what to do.
It's not just sports, though. It seems like these days you can gamble on absolutely anything. You can bet on celebrity breakups. You can bet on which White Lotus character will return in season 3. You can bet on the presidential election. And oh my God, so many people did. Hundreds of millions of dollars were tied up in political bets this year. And if that's not indicative of a nationwide gambling epidemic, I don't know what is. But I'll admit, I'm a little conflicted about this. Because on one hand, gamifying every aspect of our lives only gives more power to those with influence. It creates a financial incentive for spreading deliberate misinformation. It can make you question the motive behind everything you see and hear. But on the other hand, XQC lost $700,000 betting on the election, and that's really funny. If you don't know who XQC is, he's a streamer who, at least in every clip I've seen of him, seems to be speaking a language he invented and no one else can understand. He's also one of the many streamers who've massively increased their wealth over the past few years by taking sponsorships from offshore crypto-based online casinos, helping them and the website they stream it on explode in popularity. At almost any point of any day, you can go to the slots tab on kick.com and see someone who is zonked out of their mind, eyes bloodshot red, 12 hours into non-stop slot spins, desperately trying to win back all the money they've lost so far, oftentimes in a situation so dire that even the chat, with no personal stakes involved and only there for entertainment, is begging them to stop. But they can't. They're on autopilot. Every loss is money that needs to be won back, and every win is just more money to gamble with. I randomly opened this guy's stream one day and watched in real time as he won almost $100,000 and then say this.
95K, that's fucking huge. We're a tenth of the way back.
A tenth? This dude was down $1 million on Big Bass Bash? Now, to most people watching, it's pretty easy to say, hey man, you should probably quit while you're ahead. No, 100,000 isn't $1 million, but it's a lot more than zero. The problem is someone in this state of mind isn't capable of seeing it that way. He's not even in Thursday afternoon with the rest of us. He's still on the tail end of Wednesday night. So the rational part of his brain, too subdued to muster anything more than a mumble, asks his chat if he should end it there.
Should we up the bet or leave?
They all scream, of course you should, but it falls on deaf ears. He's yet to stop spamming spins for even a second. This man is no longer in control of his actions. He's a zombie, relegated to the passenger seat of his own mind as it careens towards the conclusion everyone watching knows is inevitable. But there's nothing he can do to stop the momentum.
I have to quit. At a certain point, I have to give up. At a certain point, I gotta give up. Oh my God. At a certain point, I gotta give up. Dude, that dog demolished the balance. Oh my God. That's crazy. Lost over $1 million today. There's nothing in there.
All he can do now is sit in the reality of what just happened.
What the fuck? Beautiful girl. Dude.
Come to terms with the fact that despite his and everyone else's better judgment, he got doghoused.
Doghouse is what did it. Dude, doghouse is what defeated me. I got doghouse. I got doghouse. I got a full doghouse. Full doghouse, dude. Full doghouse. Full fucking doghouse, dude. Dude. I got doghouse.
Did I just watch this guy ruin his life?
I don't know, actually. The thing is, it's hard to take streams like this at face value. There's a very well-documented history of streamers on Kick high-stakes gambling with money that was given to them by the website they're playing on. So not only are the stakes not high, but it's technically not even gambling. It's just promotion. The entire goal of these streams is just to make the people watching them think they too can go win life-changing money on asscoin.com. So maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe the only real thing about these streams are are the holes he punched into the wall behind him. Maybe he'll miraculously be back in a couple days with a suspiciously large balance after seeming to lose everything. But clips like this are just the flip side of an online ecosystem currently doing everything it can to convince impressionable teenagers scrolling through TikTok and YouTube shorts that gambling is awesome, actually, and you gotta start doing it.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Bang, 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 bang.
That's a great feeling, man.
Now, some people have accused these websites of rigging the odds in favor of the streamers, so it's easier for them to farm these clips. And as far as I'm aware, there's no proof of that. I think the misrepresentation of odds here is simply due to the fact that these websites can just keep depositing money into their accounts whenever they lose, giving them unlimited funds to play with.
Unless Rubet's gonna give me free money, I think that's like actually it. We really just need Howie to give us a ton of free money.
If you're given infinite money, you can just keep betting until you hit a jackpot. For them, there's no such thing as rock bottom, a philosophy that very much does not translate to real life. In real life, you can hit rock bottom, and when you do, there's no texting Howie to get yourself out of it. What's especially concerning about these kinds of streams is that while sports betting apps are at least targeting mostly grown men, the majority audience for a lot of these streamers are teenagers and young adults. People whose brains have not finished developing yet. People who would have a harder time distinguishing between entertainment and real life and have less of an ability to evaluate risk compared to people much older than them. It is statistically proven that people who are exposed to gambling at a young age are more likely to develop problems with it later in life. So maybe don't do this. Is that too much to ask?
Now, there are a few different types of gambling streamers. There are the ones like Aiden Ross, who have been very transparent about the fact that money is the only thing that matters to them, and there's no line they would be unwilling to cross in pursuit of it. Then there's streamers like Steve Will Do It, who admitted in an interview with CoffeeZilla that the only reason he started taking these sponsorships was because he used to have a gambling problem, and it was a way for him to continue to gamble without having to use his own money. In other words, he knows from personal experience the harm a gambling addiction can cause, but he has no problem promoting that to other people as long as it's not his money they're losing. But then there's also plenty of streamers that don't seem to think they're doing anything wrong. They put their head in the sand and make excuses because the money's too good for them to turn down. Take Nick Merckx, for example. Nick gets pretty defensive when people question the fact that he spends 1 week out of every month spinning slots on Kick.com. Oh yeah, man, sorry. Forgot a bunch of children watch my streams. Like, dude, you've spent the past 6 years streaming Fortnite and Call of Duty. If you don't think the majority of your audience is young men, I don't know what to tell you. And don't even get me started on Drake. I know a large portion of his audience is underage because those are the people he's trying to fuck.
So while obviously these websites who use decentralized currency and are based out of a small island country with laughably loose gambling restrictions in order to skirt federal regulations are mostly to blame for the damage they've caused, these celebrities and streamers who've helped popularize them are very much complicit. When you build an audience online, whether you like it or not, there is a parasocial element to it. There are people in your fan base who look up to you and trust you, and every time you sell something to them, you are leveraging that parasocial relationship in order to financially benefit. And I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. I sell merch, I have sponsors, I just did an ad read like 3 minutes ago. But my God, I feel like the bare minimum with the sponsorship is, does this product actively hurt the people that use it? Yes? Then I'm not gonna do that. I get that it can sting to turn down a lot of money, and if the numbers people have floated around are accurate, it is a stupid amount of money. But for some of these people who could already live 10 full lifetimes without ever having to worry about bills ever again, when is it enough? It's just crazy to me. It's like, thank you to everyone who supports what I do. You've given me my dream job, this life of luxury I'm so lucky to have. And in return, I give to you a crippling addiction. Sorry, I wanted to buy a house in Mexico.
We got another place because you can't do it in America. You have to go somewhere else. So we went somewhere else and we got another place.
Call me dramatic, but I'm a little concerned where this is all headed. People like to talk about iPad babies who are burning all their dopamine receptors before they even reach preschool. But what is a slot machine if not just a giant iPad? Scientifically engineered to be as mesmerizing as possible so you don't even realize what you're letting it take from you.
$1,000 in fast spins at $50 a spin. Look at that, $194,000 grand. That thing is due. Oh. Well, that's $1,000.
Gambling can be addictive enough on its own even before you add in all this social pressure. The transition from casual gambler to full-blown addict can happen so gradually, a lot of people don't even realize it's happened to them until it's too late. And when everyone around you, from celebrities in commercials to all your favorite streamers, are just making it seem like it's no big deal, it's fun, everybody does it, can you truly recognize the seriousness of what you're getting yourself into? I think all we can really do for the time being is try to fight back against the normalization of gambling. So what do you say we all get together and call a timeout? What's that? They already tried that for hate.
We need to stop it.
So let's take this moment
to change the momentum
and call a timeout
on hate.
Together.
Together.
And it's not working, even though they got Shaq.
Well, that's not good. That was kind of the only idea I had.
Gambling is not new. For as long as there's been man, there's been the primal desire to bet it all on red. But what is new is the way technology has evolved to prey on these urges in the most efficient and targeted ways possible. Using AI to send push notifications at the precise moment they know they're most likely to be open. Using a constantly evolving algorithm to offer bets that are so time sensitive you have to commit to it before you even have a chance to think about it. These apps didn't invent gambling addiction, they've just made it more accessible. You combine all of that with a system in which most people aren't paid nearly enough money for the amount of work that they do and might see gambling as one of the only ways out of that situation, only to end up exacerbating their problems, and you end up with the unmitigated economic disaster we're in now. Forgive me for using the C word, but we've stumbled into this stage of capitalism where every dollar must be profited by any means necessary, and foregoing any chance to do so would simply be seen as a missed opportunity. Advertisements in between the game? Not enough. Now they're a part of the game. A mini fridge in the hotel that I can store my leftovers in? No, we should be filling every square inch of that thing with $12 Coke cans that'll automatically charge your credit card even if you're just moving one out of the way. A YouTube outro that's just a few seconds of peaceful music and no call to action? You wish, bozo. Please go listen to the song I made with my friend Sam. I wrote the guitar for it and I think it's pretty good. Thanks for watching.
These are my top 10 mistakes that slot machine players make. Number 1, the biggest mistake that slot players make is playing slot machines in the first place.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I walked into the room and I said, this cannot be happening right now. This is not the kind of thing that normally happens in this town. Is it this camera? I look at this one? Okay.
Why don't they just edit that part out?
Can you tell us your name? My name is John, and what is your connection to Crazy Legs? Who? The serial killer? I don't know who that is. You don't? No.
Is this for TV?
Sort of. Sorry, we must have got the wrong guy.
Yeah, I think you did. I work at Hobby Lobby.
Whoops. Well, could you tell us about that?
Oh, sure.
So Hobby Lobby is sort of a knick-knack store.
So they're just gonna interview him anyway?
It's a good place to work because we have Sundays off, and I'm not like religious or anything, but I just don't like working on Sundays. No, it didn't hurt necessarily. I just wanted to go to a dermatologist to make sure it wasn't anything serious. But then I found out that if you bundle it with your home insurance, it's actually a little bit cheaper.
How long is this?
You know what's funny? I never understood the roadwork vine. People would quote it to me.
Is this the whole episode?
Do you guys want to hear about the time I got my tonsils out? Oh my God, I'm done. This is so stupid.
The year 2005. My throat ravaged with strep.
Hey guy, does anyone else feel like everything is designed to waste your time now, or am I being too cynical? Netflix documentaries are multiple episodes when they could have just been one 45-minute movie. Video games are too big. YouTube videos are too long. And please, for the love of God, stop asking me for my phone number every time I buy something from a store. I don't want to join your rewards program. I just want to give you money in exchange for a hat. Is that too much to ask? Sorry, I'll start with the Netflix thing. It seems like half of what I watch on Netflix is twice as long as it should be. They always make it just interesting enough to hold your attention, but but it's still pretty clear they're trying to stretch it out as much as they can. And I know it's not just me who feels this way, because I'll look up reviews after I watch something and they almost all say the same thing. Watchable, but it drags on, could have been tied up in one episode. Please, Netflix, stop trying to make a series when there simply isn't the content for a series. They made a documentary a couple years ago about the Cecil Hotel, a place that has, I'll say it, an alarming number of deaths associated with it. It's the site of that extremely famous elevator video of Elisa Lam right before she was found dead. So there is plenty of mystery to uncover here, but by episode 2, they were just interviewing YouTubers. Not people connected with the story, just a bunch of random dudes who had Googled stuff about it before. They keep calling them web sleuths, which I guess is the most official way of saying that you just woke up one day and decided that you are a detective. Well, since no one else has been able to crack this case, I guess it's up to me. Generally, one of the big things that separates a professionally made documentary from just any average YouTube video is the access they have to the subject matter. Anyone can throw together a video where they summarize a Wikipedia page, but the most memorable and revealing documentaries are ones where we hear the perspective of the people involved. I watched one on Hulu recently called The Contestant, and not only is this an absolutely insane story, but you get to hear it from the point of view of the guy it happened to. You also get to hear from the villain of this story, who is such a monster, I can't believe he agreed to be a part of this. It's fascinating to see how proud he is of himself. Like, yeah, I tormented this guy and ruined his life, but you gotta admit, it made for a pretty cool show. But this is kind of the expectation when you turn on a documentary, that you're gonna hear the story from the people involved in the story. So when you put on an official Netflix docuseries on a streaming service that costs money to use, and most of it is just regular people offering their 2 cents on the same blurry video everyone else has watched, it kind of feels like a huge waste of time. It's so aggressively time wasting that I can't help but feel like that was the goal. Like, all right, we have everything we need to tell this story. We have other guests who were staying at the hotel. We have the manager of the hotel at the time. We have the maintenance worker who discovered her body. And in between interviewing them, we're also going to hear from someone whose only credential is having internet access.
I am a co-founder of the Elisa Lam discussion group on Facebook.
No, he wasn't there when it happened, but he has listened to a lot of podcasts about this, so we should probably hear him out. More recently, they made a docuseries about Ashley Madison, a website whose mere existence is fascinating, let alone all the fallout from their massive data leak that exposed a bunch of celebrities and politicians. There is absolutely a story worth telling here, and some of it was very interesting. But again, pointless interviews, backstory that's unnecessarily detailed. There's such a clear amount of filler put into these documentaries. It felt like half the runtime of the last 2 episodes was just trying to make us feel bad for this YouTube vlogging couple, which, I'm sorry, was never going to happen. In fact, I would say the best thing to come out of this was that it forced them to take a short break from exploiting their children's medical issues for AdSense revenue because they were too busy making 17 videos about how they were gonna be on Netflix. Now, I would guess, like with a lot of their scripted content, the shadowy Netflix overlords are more responsible for a lot of these decisions than the talented people who work on these. I don't think almost every single documentary is 3 60-minute episodes because that's always how much story there is to tell. I think that's the mandated runtime that their bosses give to them. So even when they end up with footage that doesn't add anything to the show, they kind of just have to leave it in anyway to pad the length. There's a series they did a couple years ago with Kristen Bell called The Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window. As you could probably guess from the title, this was a parody of like Lifetime murder mysteries, and it was a pretty funny show. I enjoyed it. But the whole time I was watching this, I just kept thinking, this should have been a movie. Why is this 8 episodes? Is it because they knew it would take me 4 days to finish instead of getting through it all in one night, therefore extending my subscription just long enough for them to make a little bit more money for me? You know, now that I hear that out loud, I'm pretty sure it's that. At this point, I just assume most of Netflix's decisions are made by an algorithm that prioritizes keeping people subscribed as long as possible and has figured out the best way to mathematically do that, even if it lessens the overall user experience. I think overall, Netflix is trying to do too many things at once. They want to make good shows, but they also want to make a lot of shows. And they want the shows to be longer than they need to be, but not in a way that would cost more money. And they need to move the plot along so no one gets bored, but not too quickly, otherwise the people who are looking down at their phones the entire time might get confused.
She'd heard from so many showrunners who were given notes by the streaming channels that they say, this isn't second screen enough. The viewer is expected to be on their phone, kind of half doing something else while your crime drama or whatever is playing. And you just can't make it as complicated as you have because they're not going to understand it because they're only going to be half concentrating on your show.
You know, when you hear stuff like that, it's actually not that surprising how often shows like Avatar would repeat the same information they just told you a few minutes ago. You're not supposed to pay attention when you watch Netflix. You're just supposed to put it on in the background so you have something to listen to while you make dinner. But like, if you're designing your content so that it's best consumed while half paying attention to it, why would I waste my time devoting all of my attention to it?
On the topic of things that are getting too long, what's going on with YouTube videos? Does anyone know? I'm old enough to remember when the 10-minute mark was something videos got stretched out to. Now it feels like half the videos I get recommended to me are 7-hour retrospectives on like the penguins of Madagascar. And I'm kind of conflicted on how I feel about this. Because on one hand, some of the best videos I've seen on this website are well past the hour mark. There are multiple Defunctland episodes that have better storytelling and production value than any Netflix documentary I've seen. When H-Bomber Guy or Jenny Nicholson release a 4-hour video, I know it's not just because they're trying to inflate the watch time so it gets boosted by the algorithm, it's because they spent months working on it and that's just how long the video ended up being. I'm a sucker for a comically in-depth review of a piece of media I've never thought about for more than 2 seconds. As long as the person making it is passionate about the subject and they put in the effort to make it entertaining, I'll watch just about anything. But I'm worried that some people are taking the wrong lessons from the success of some of these channels. They see that a very long video about a niche subject has the potential to get a lot of views, so it's almost as if they go into their video with the goal of making it as long as possible, even if there's not really that much to talk about. The current YouTube meta is to turn your video into a podcast. It's to pad the absolute shit out of the runtime because that's what the algorithm likes. And to be clear, I don't really blame these people for doing this, especially smaller channels who are just trying to make their videos stand out before they drown in the bottomless ocean of content. But it's just frustrating from the audience perspective that the system is rewarding unedited yapping. If I just vomit out every word that remotely pertains to the topic at hand with no thought into brevity, no consideration of the viewer's time, it's actually more likely that YouTube will push my video out to those people whose time I'm not valuing. The algorithm is teaching me that I shouldn't cut things out of my video if they feel superfluous or unnecessary or repetitive or like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again but in slightly different ways. They'd prefer if I stretched out every video as long as I could, but if that's all I'm doing, what message am I sending to the audience I'm trying to cultivate? That their time is just something for me to leverage so I can get more views? That's a little shitty. But the worst thing is when they start doing an ad read at the beginning of a video that, quite frankly, I'm not even sure I'm interested in yet. You haven't even hooked me, and you're already trying to sell me a water bottle that smells bad? Brother, if I wanted to be advertised to, I would fly to New York City and spin around in Times Square. I didn't click on this video to learn about the deodorant that changed your life. I clicked on this video to hear a grown man rant about the Fairly Odd Parents for 3 hours. So in that way, this is kind of my fault. I don't know what I was expecting. Also, no, I'm sorry. You don't have to do this. I literally do. I signed a contract. This portion of the video is sponsored by SoFi, the ultimate finance app helping you bank, borrow, and invest. I have one goal in life: to be the first person in human history to have $100 all at once. An amount long considered to be unreachable, and yet I will reach it. And even though I'm only about 3% of the way there, I'm not giving up. Because with SoFi's high yield checking and savings account, I can earn up to 4.5% APY on my savings with direct deposit, which is 10 times the national average savings rate. High yield savings accounts are a great way to make your money work harder for you so you don't have to work harder for your money. Your typical savings account with direct deposit at your local bank earns you just 0.46% interest, and that's not enough for me. I have a world record to break. But with the SoFi high yield savings account with direct deposit, in just 5 weeks, the money in my savings account is earning more than it would in an entire year in a big bank savings account. With SoFi checking and savings, you also get paid up to 2 days early, pay no account fees, and you can cash in on up to $300 when you sign up with direct deposit. But here's the best part: SoFi and I are teaming up to give away $10,000. So I guess I'll be the second person to have $100. All you have to do to enter is sign up for a SoFi checking and savings account right now using my link, and that's it. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to enter for a chance to win. But just make sure you're using my link because it's the only way to enter. Thank you to SoFi for sponsoring today's video. Now, based on everything I just described, you might be thinking, okay, so you want every video to be as concise as possible. You mean like Mr. Beast? No. That's not what I'm saying. That is on the entire other end of the spectrum. There are videos that go on so long that large portions of them become nothing more than background noise. And then there's the most hyperactive, fever dream editing, nonstop cacophony of colors and sounds meant to overstimulate the 8-year-old boys watching on their iPad. And then there's a lot of space in between. But I guess because of all that space, it's weird to me how many videos end up on either extreme. It'll either be like, I just trapped my friend in an elevator for 72 hours without any food or water, but none of that even mattered because they ran out of air and suffocated before they even got hungry. Or it'll be like, but before I can talk about season 2 of How I Met Your Mother, we need to go back to the beginning. The first camera was invented in 18... I'm just asking that we meet somewhere in the middle, that's all. Also, to be clear, Mr. Beast and all of the channels copying him have never made their videos that way because they value people's time. They're just trying to keep their retention rate as high as possible. It's just a different metric they're prioritizing. If Jimmy cared about his audience at all, he wouldn't sign off on doing this unbelievably deceptive bullshit where during mid-roll ads, they put this progress bar on the bottom that starts off really fucking fast. It makes it seem like, oh, this will be done in a few seconds. I don't need to skip this. And then once people have done the math in their head and decided they're just gonna see it through to the end, the progress bar mysteriously slows down. Like, a lot. And suddenly that last 20% is starting to feel like an eternity. I thought we were almost done, and now I'm not even sure we're halfway through. This shit really pisses me off, because this is a very deliberate choice. This is not an accident. You have to go out of your way to keyframe it like this with the intention of deceiving your viewers. It's such an openly manipulative thing to do to your audience, and is very telling of the way you view them. That you're willing to lie to their face if it means a number on an analytics screen might get a little bit bigger. To you, they're not real people, they're just data points that can be orchestrated in whatever direction you want them to. And that sucks. And if you agree with me, please sign up for my Patreon. Right now, I'm trying to buy a bunch of Teslas so I can see how many you can stack on top of each other before they explode. I have a lot of respect for creators that make algorithmically counterintuitive decisions because they don't want to waste their viewers' time. I think Internet Shaquille is hands down the best cooking channel on YouTube. He's knowledgeable, he's funny, and he always just gets right to the point. There's a promise of information in the title, and he doesn't try to withhold it from you just because he could theoretically put more mid-rolls in by meandering for a bit. For a long time, Tom Scott was kind of the science version of this. Nerd Writer is like the film version of this. In a world where most video essays end up being somehow longer than the piece of media they're about, Nerd Writer's still barely hitting that 7-minute mark. It's just, here's this thing I noticed in a movie, here's some insight about it, and that's all I got for you, brother. But I think it's also worth noting that these channels are successful. They're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, but it works for them. And I just want to use that as a testament to making things the way you want to make them, or making the type of video you wish there was more of. Sometimes going against the grain actually is the best way to make yourself stand out. Like, don't just throw together a bunch of crappy videos about whatever drama is trending. Make a retrospective about some niche hobby you had as a kid. This shit is way more interesting. Remember, this website is called YouTube, not do the thing that you think will become popular tube. That would be a really stupid URL. Now, I'll admit it's not totally fair to get mad at other people for wasting my time when really no one wastes more of it than I do. There was a day last week where the screen time on my phone was 106 hours. And I slept in that day. There's so many things I want to do in my life before I'm gone, so many people I want to spend time with, so many places I want to go, but I can't stop scrolling. I don't want to, but it's as if it's been scientifically engineered to be the easiest thing to do.
Adam and Eve were caught on camera. Can you guess who's holding the camera? Keep scrolling if you choose the devil.
It's this weird feeling I get whenever I go on TikTok or Instagram Reels or Threads, just kidding, where I'm simultaneously aware of what it's doing to my brain, but I do nothing to try and intervene. I just sit there and let it destroy me because I have to see that next video. What if it's so funny, but I exit out of the app before I ever get a chance to watch it? I'd cry. No. I'd kill myself. And it's almost as if that feeling is intentional. They've made it so the distance between you and a chance at dopamine is just one small swipe away. I'd almost say it's malicious, but I know that's not true, because $1 billion company would never do that. Billionaires care about your well-being. That's how they made so much money in the first place. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they would never intentionally show us things to make us upset because studies show that people spend more time on a platform if they're seeing something that makes them angry. They wouldn't do that, because that's not nice. This is what most of my timeline is whenever I scroll through Twitter. It's the most blatantly obvious engagement bait that has weaseled its way into being prioritized because it's successfully baited engagement. It's arguments about body counts and whether Nickelodeon shows were good or not. And it works on me. It has the intended effect when I see it. I was scrolling one day and I saw someone say, iCarly, Victorious, Zoe 101. And at first I had to squint for a few seconds because I wasn't sure what they meant by this. And then I realized they were saying the first two are good, LeBron James, and the third is sort of an imposter that doesn't belong. And I, in my head, got defensive. I was like, what are you talking about? Zoe 101 was good. It was certainly better than Victorious. How does this have so many likes? What's wrong with Zoe 101? And then I exited out of Twitter and sat in silence for a few seconds as I pondered what just happened. How I got upset that someone I don't know said a show from 20 years ago that I kind of liked isn't as good as a different show that I barely watch? Why is this how I'm spending my time? In this moment, I could have been doing anything else, and yet I chose to introduce this argument into my head? That can't be good long term, right? Like we can all agree that's probably not great for my brain. If you're like me and you've been struggling with the endless scroll, I do have a recommendation. I found this by accident while I was doing a video a couple years ago about dopamine fast. It's called Screen Zen, and it's free. I have it set up so it only gives me a few minutes at a time on each of the most poisonous apps that I hate but am addicted to. So you can still pop in for a sec and get the feeling of being up to date, but then it'll grab you by the shoulders and yank you out before you get too sucked into the void. You still get a little bit sucked, but not all the way. But of course, I saved the most important issue for last. Video games are too big now, and I'm tired of pretending like they're not. When I was a kid, the idea of an open world game blew my mind. Up until a certain point, everything was very linear, very insulated. You load into an area, you do what you have to do there, and then you move on to the next place. But this idea that you could go anywhere in any order, what could be more immersive than a world that you could essentially live in? And boy, did I want to live in any other world than the one in which I played clarinet and got bullied by someone who also played clarinet. You're not better than me. We're the same. To me, open world games felt like the culmination of every technological milestone. It felt like the future of gaming. And then over time, it became the standard. It became what every game had to be. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like the goal shifted from making the best game to making the biggest game. I guess because it's easier to market something based on scale than to just come out and say, hey, the story's really good in this one, trust me. I started to get overwhelmed by games because of the seemingly endless list of tasks I needed to complete, the chores that I needed to do. And to be clear, I'm not talking about games like Crime Scene Cleaner. That's a great game, okay? I don't mind chores when the game is chores. I'll play Power Wash Simulator all day. I played unpacking shortly after moving into this house, and I hadn't finished unpacking in real life yet. My wife was not happy about that. What I'm specifically referring to is when games feel artificially padded with repetitive side quests. When there's like 7 different activities to do, but you just end up doing each of them 100 times. And as someone who goes into games with a completionist mindset, this is the quickest way to make me give up. Cause I'll try to collect every item and go into every corner for like 20% of the story until one day I just stop opening the game altogether, relieved by the massive weight now off my shoulders. I think this is a big reason why Elden Ring had such a big impact on me and so many other people. Yes, you're in this staggeringly large open world littered with places to go and things to kill, but it's not in the form of just a bunch of exclamation points on your minimap. Almost everything you do in this game is motivated by, oh, that looks cool, I want to go over there. It's a feeling you should have while playing an open world game. It's that sense of wonder that has mostly been lost by all these cookie cutter taskathons. Also, the more bloated a a game is with content, the more narrative dissonance there ends up being. Which of course only matters as much as you let it, but it's still really funny sometimes when the main questline of a game is trying to instill this sense of urgency, but at any given moment you can just go fuck around for 15 straight hours. We've only got until midnight tonight to rescue my uncle, or they're gonna execute him. Hey, do you think there's anything cool in this cave over here? A compromise that works great for my brain is a semi-open world, like the two most recent God of War games. I like when there's enough optional side exploration that it still scratches that itch for me, without it ever feeling like I'm missing out on this overwhelming amount of content by just wanting to streamline the story for a bit. I think it's okay for a game to be modest in scope. Just because the technology exists to procedurally generate 1,000 different planets doesn't mean we have to do that. Sometimes I wonder if the technical limitations from previous generations actually made games better. I mean, it certainly made them more contained. It made them more approachable. I love going back and playing older games that only take a few hours to finish. I want to be able to complete things. I want to have a full experience in a reasonable amount of time. I'm tired of not getting any closure from games because they make it so tedious and long-winded to get to that point. And that's assuming the game even works when you first buy it, which chances are it won't. It's become so normalized for games to be unfinished and littered with bugs on release that it's actually surprising when a game comes out and works the way it's supposed to. A lot of even really good games aren't worth buying for like 2 full years. Cyberpunk, fantastic game in 2024. But I bought this on release and had to slog through so many bugs, retread so many areas because of crashes, all before encountering an immovable obstacle. I could not progress the story because every time I tried to initiate this cutscene, the other character would not say the next line he was supposed to, so they would both just sit there in silence indefinitely. I couldn't continue the game past this point, and I was like 10 hours into it. I had a similar game-breaking experience with Dying Light 2, Metro Exodus, and I'm not even touching Starfield anytime soon. The bigger a game is supposed to be, the more I don't trust it to be a complete experience when it first comes out. It usually takes years to fill out all the missing pieces, so I'm not gonna waste my time or money on what I assume will be a significantly worse experience than if I were to just wait until it's on sale in 2027. But in a world of titles forced out prematurely by a deadline that was never realistic, nothing feels quite as egregious as the yearly full-priced sports game. You spend 11 months building up a player or a team or a general manager if you're a weirdo like me, and then as soon as the calendar flips over, you gotta start from scratch. All right, everyone, time for the new game. Yes, it's $100 again, but we've made so many improvements. The number on the box is different. And where's your credit card? NBA 2K has one of the most aggressive microtransaction systems I've ever seen in a video game. But they're not just dedicated to milking every single dollar out of your bank account. They've also made it their personal mission to waste as much of your time as humanly possible. A few years ago, they added something revolutionary. They turned the park into the city. Now, functionally, at its core, the city is just a menu. Every physical location that you have to trek to could have just been text on a screen and it would have been way more efficient to navigate. But that wouldn't be innovative. Innovation is when you have to jog a mile just to have Gatorade before your next game. Innovation is when you create something tedious so you can sell the solution to it. Man, aren't you guys tired of having to navigate this big stupid city we made? Then buy a bike. It's $10, fuck you. Imagine if every time you turned on your computer, you had to make a little guy run across town just to go to the Gmail store. Oh shit, forgot my password, gonna have to sprint over to City Hall. I feel like every single element of this game is designed with the goal of wasting your time. Whether it's getting interrupted in the main menu to show you 2 separate ads, or a halftime show you cannot skip even if you press X the whole time. Don't get me wrong, this halftime show is great. They've got Ernie, Kenny,
Shaq, my 3 favorite guys. They show highlights and relevant stats, they make jokes. By sports game standards, this halftime show is fantastic. But there are 1 million games in every basketball season, and I don't want to watch 1 million halftime shows. I'm just trying to speed run to the playoffs so I can take a virtual trophy home to my real-life Orlando Magic. Is that too much to ask? 58 seconds, by the way. But whatever, those are just minor inconveniences. The really egregious wastes of time are in the my career mode. Now the thing is, when you start his career, this guy fucking sucks at basketball, which is a problem because that's the thing he's trying to do. He's slow as hell, he can't shoot to save his life, he has one shirt and it's brown. And in order to fix these things, you need to obtain virtual currency. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. Option 1, grind. Spend dozens of hours playing dozens of games, scraping together pennies so you can get 1% faster, 1% stronger, 1% better at handling ball. But it's never enough. This process is miserable. You're useless out there. You don't belong in the NBA. You would be better off in any other line of work. And this is exactly by design. This is how the game wants you to feel. They want you to hate this part because they know the more frustrating of an experience you have, the more likely you are to just skip to option 2, spend $40 more. Come on, just do it. You don't have time for this. Don't you want to get to the fun part? You'll start doing the math in your head and rationalize it as a no-brainer. Yeah, $40 is a lot of money, but it's not nearly as much money as I could earn in the 40 hours it's saving me. You feel like a genius. You feel like you outsmarted the system, and then you realize this is the system. I did the exact thing they wanted me to do. And it wouldn't even be that bad if the game itself didn't already cost $70. But now you're out over $100, maybe $150 if you pre-ordered it. Also, the professional athlete you created doesn't play like he's never touched a basketball in his life before.
And I've got all the natural ability in the world thanks to my genetics.
And then you get to do it all again next year. This whole system of paying to skip a grind that has been intentionally designed to be insufferable has become way too common. Developers are purposely holding our time hostage, knowing we'll probably spend a few bucks to get some of it back. I feel like that's almost the entire business model of MMOs. It's one of the reasons I stopped playing RuneScape after our lifelong on-off relationship. I kept having to fight the urge to spend a few bucks on gold because the alternative was earning it in the game, but then I'd have to play the game. And I don't want to do that. I just want to play the end of the game. How long does it take to get there? Oh. Well, I guess this is where I live now. In conclusion, life is short, and your time is precious. It's your most valuable resource, and you should treat it that way because, unfortunately, no amount of it is guaranteed. And I just hate seeing how much it's become commodified, how companies have figured out ways to steal as much of it as they can from us. You can't even pause a fucking movie anymore without having your attention demanded. I know you're just getting up to pee, but if you could please scan this QR code, we got a lot of interesting information about Lysol wipes. The way our attention gets pulled in every direction at all times also makes me feel like I should be multitasking always or I'll fall behind. I always feel like I'm missing out on something. There's so many movies I want to watch and games I want to play, and there's not enough hours in the day to do it all. So when I do give myself free time, I try to be overly efficient with it. I can't just play a video game. I should be catching up on podcasts. Loading screen, perfect. That gives me exactly 9 seconds to scroll through TikTok. I hate to be bored. I'd hate to have to listen to the thoughts that are already in my brain. I need to be absorbing new information constantly or I'll die. I've been trying more and more lately to not let the feeling that there's something better I could be doing prevent me from enjoying the time that I have. Sometimes it's nice to go for a walk without bringing my AirPods. There's still plenty of stuff to listen to. Birds, cars, 1 billion cicadas making the world's loudest sound. I don't need to min-max content consumption. In fact, I probably shouldn't be doing that. I don't think prioritizing constant small hits of dopamine, hoping it all adds up to something meaningful, is the secret to being happy. The secret to being happy is gambling. Nobody's ever had a bad time in the casino.
This is free, so how do you make money?
The advertisers cover the cost of the TV. So this is an ad.
This is always on.
Whatever you're watching, we're able to monetize using the bottom device. Okay, so check this out. So there's a Pizza Hut ad right there. We literally are now on pizzahut.com, and we can order a pizza.
I know. I am too old to be getting this worked up over a Netflix remake of a cartoon that came out when I was 11.
But this is not just any cartoon. It's not like they're rebooting Jimmy Neutron and I'm pissed off about it. Avatar is a nearly perfect series. It's one I enjoyed a lot when I saw it as a kid, but rediscovering it as an adult actually blew my mind. It's a show that moved me to tears multiple times. It's something that the creators clearly put so much thought and care into getting every detail right, from the world building to the music. Now, for a long time, I thought it would be impossible to translate this world into live action, partly because of how intricate and beautiful the animation is, and partly because the last time they tried to do it, it was a fucking disaster. I've seen way too many people say in regards to the Netflix adaptation, hey, at least it's better than the movie. Yeah, I would hope it's better than one of the worst films ever made. You don't get points for that. Because of how goofy and awkward this movie looked, I assumed it just couldn't be done. That this world was simply unadaptable to live action. And in a lot of ways, Netflix proved me wrong. This show looks probably as good as a live-action Avatar could. I mean, nothing will ever truly compare to vibrant and fluid 2D animation, but the VFX team that worked on this did a really good job of making something that very easily could have looked dumb as shit look pretty realistic. Except for the airbending, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, a lot of the scenes are directed a little jarringly, and it's way too dark sometimes, but with what they were tasked with bringing to life here, I think they deserve a lot of credit. But it's funny to me that Netflix nailed the part that I thought couldn't be done well and messed up all of the stuff that should have been a slam dunk. Let's start with the pilot, because I started writing this video 10 minutes into the first episode. The pilot condenses the first 3 episodes of the animated series into one premiere, which on paper works really well. The end of episode 3 really is where the prologue ends. We've established the world, we've introduced the characters and a little bit of their backstories, and they're literally flying away from their past as they venture forth onto their journey. And while the very beginning of the show doesn't quite reach the heights that it eventually will, I think this is all paced really well and does a good job of doling out enough information to explain what's going on while still having the restraint to hold on to some things that can be revealed when the time is right. We open on 2 of the 3 main characters, Sokka and Katara. We learn that they're siblings who live in the Southern Water Tribe. Katara is a waterbender, Sokka is not. He belittles her ability, they bicker for a bit, it escalates, and then Katara waterbends so hard that a 12-year-old bald kid falls out of an iceberg. Wait, that's not just any bald kid, that's the Avatar. No one's seen him in 100 years, what the hell? No time to stop and explain everything though, because they have inadvertently alerted a nearby Fire Nation ship of their presence. This is Prince Zuko and his uncle Iroh. They've been banished from their home and sent on a now 3-year quest to find the Avatar, a quest that may just be about to end. Some chaos ensues, a fight breaks out, but ultimately with the help of his new friends, Aang is able to escape Zuko, and the 3 of them fly into the sunset. Now that brings us to episode 3, and there is still a crucial piece of information that the showrunners have not yet revealed to Aang because they're waiting until the right moment. The gang heads to the air temple that Aang grew up in, a place where Sokka and Katara know is probably filled with dead airbenders, but they don't have the heart to break it to him. He's so cheerful and excited to just show them where he used to play with his friends. How do we tell this kid that everyone he knew and loved was murdered by the Fire Nation? Instead, they try to cheer him up and keep him distracted. We see a flashback of Aang's former life. He's talking to his friend and mentor Gyatso, someone who we can tell he clearly cared a lot about. Aang talks about how overwhelmed he is at the thought of being the Avatar, and Gyatso assures him that everything will be alright. We cut back, they keep exploring for a bit, they find Momo, a little pet to go with their big pet. Things are going great, until... oh shit.
Firebenders? They were here? Gyatso.
Oh man. Come on, Aang. Everything will be alright. Let's get out of here.
This is a really important scene for the beginning of a Nickelodeon show that up until this point has been pretty lighthearted. Seeing your main character, who's just a kid, find out about the death of his entire people and then freak out and have to be calmed down by his friends. It's a really powerful moment that can only happen because the writers held on to this reveal until the time was right to reveal it. So now let's talk about how Netflix handled the pilot. Instead of starting the show on our main characters, we open on an epic chase. This is streaming, baby. We gotta put a fight scene within the first 10 seconds or people are gonna turn it off and go watch Love is Blind. If you don't brutally murder someone on right now, I'm taking my ass to free feed. But you know what? I'm fine with this cold open. I understand you're just trying to grab people's attention, and a quick little action sequence that shows how ruthless the Fire Nation can be is not the worst way to do it. But it should have ended here. You say this line.
This isn't about the Airbenders. This is about one who lives among them.
But the Avatar is yet to be revealed.
Which is why we have to kill them all.
And then we cut to present day to the three main characters, similar to how the cartoon did. I actually think that would have been a really effective opening, because if you've never seen the show and you just watch the Fire Lord say, we gotta kill all the Airbenders, and then you cut 100 years into the future and you see an Airbender that survived, you'd probably be like, how did that happen? I'm gonna stick around to find out. Instead, we come back from the title sequence and we're still in the past on the day of the aforementioned invasion. I guess we're just gonna do the whole show chronologically, lest anyone be confused. We meet Aang and Gyatso and see them stand and talk for a while, and then we get to watch some people sit and talk for a while, and we cut back to Aang and Gyatso, and they do more standing and more talking, and then Aang flies away, and a whole bunch of murder happens. Oh my god, so much murder. I'm talking several uninterrupted minutes of murder, because remember, this is a show for grown-ups. Cartoons are for babies. We got a bunch of dead bodies in this one. What's crazy to me about this entire sequence is that while they're so insistent on showing something that I honestly think had more emotional impact to just see the aftermath of, they make no attempt to show us any aspects of Aang's personality. I mean, don't get me wrong, the writers take the time to explain Aang's personality to us. He and Gyatso tell us all about him.
I know who I am. I like to play airball and eat banana cakes and goof off with my friends. That's who I am.
I feel bad for this kid because he seems like a very good actor, but the writers keep giving him lines that make it sound like he's about to burst into song.
Monks don't even trust me to feed the baby bison, and I'm supposed to save the world?
Why can't I just be a kid? But this isn't even the worst example of tell, don't show that they do in this episode. Remember I told you about how Aang finds out that all the Airbenders are dead, how he stumbles upon the corpse of his former best friend, surrounded by all of the firebenders it took to take him down. Here's how they do it in this show.
Most of them had just arrived for the Great Comet Festival.
The Great Comet Festival. The last time that the Great Comet was seen in the sky was 100 years ago.
Someone just tells him about it.
Everyone in the village knows this story, but you don't. Just as you don't know that airbenders haven't been seen in generations, and that the Southern Air Temple was the first to fall because you've been trapped in that ice this whole time.
Gran reads out loud the entire opening theme for like 2 straight minutes while he has to just sit there and give reaction faces before running out of the room crying. And he's sad for like 10 seconds and then everything is fine. No time to mope, buddy. You gotta do another walk and talk. This is infuriatingly bad writing. You took one of Aang's most impactful moments from the beginning of the show and turned it into someone else's monologue. It's so weird to me when shows are clearly in a rush to establish as much information as possible, I guess because they think people will get confused and turn it off if they don't have their hand held through every interaction. But it feels counterintuitive. I think what gets people to continue watching something is mystery. You don't need to answer every question I have within seconds of me having it. You can reveal information in small doses and slowly add to it piece by piece. That's what's going to compel me to keep watching something, not paragraphs of expository dialogue whenever you feel like you've got some lore blanks to fill. It's also weird to me that they still try to recreate the air temple moment in this episode, even though it's not new information for Aang. He goes and sees dead Gyatso, who was evidently much easier to kill this time around, and still goes bananas and still has to be calmed down, but it doesn't really make sense because he already knows about this.
All my friends, they're all gone.
It actually feels like kind of an overreaction considering he barely gave a shit about it earlier. Also in the original, Katara is the one to calm Aang down while he's in this state. She tells him that she knows what it's like to lose someone you love, but the world needs him and they're here to help no matter what. It's a great moment for the three of them because it gives closure to Aang's past while bridging the gap into this present journey they're about to go on. In this version, Katara just watches while we see a bunch of flashbacks from earlier in the episode, in case you were looking at your phone during that part.
You are my friend.
I really don't understand the obsession with Gyatso in this version. He is an important character, but more so as a memory for Aang, like a symbol of what he lost. He's not that relevant to the present day journey they're about to go on. What matters the most is their relationship. Their friendship is the foundation that this entire series is built on. So I think you're doing a huge disservice to that by taking interactions away from Katara and Sokka so you can give them to a guy who died 100 years ago. They do this multiple times in the show. They keep bringing Gyatso back instead of giving that valuable screen time to the more important characters. They even do this in the opening title scroll in the pilot episode. In the original, Katara is the one who does this voiceover, which kind of establishes the show as being from her point of view. And the very iconic lines she says at the end,
"But I believe Aang can save the world,"
actually tell us something about her. They tell us that she's optimistic and believes in her friends no matter what. So they actually managed to add characterization into a sequence that is at its core exposition. It's a very efficient use of dialogue. In the remake, they take this away from Katara so they can, again, give it to a character who died 100 years ago. And that's not even mentioning the fact that everything that's said in this version of the title sequence gets repeated multiple times throughout the episode. It's a very inefficient use of dialogue.
The Avatar, the one person with the ability to master all four elements. The Avatar, the next master of all four elements.
Only the Avatar, the one person who can master all four elements.
Only the Avatar, master of all four elements. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
When the world needed the Avatar the most, he vanished.
Episode 1 shouldn't feel as rushed at the end as it does. It's roughly the same runtime as the 3 episodes it's adapting. So it's not that they didn't have the time to tell the story, it's that they misused the time they had. They add in all this stuff that probably would have been better if it was just kept a mystery. They waste so much time repeating the same information just from different sources. And they replace interesting character development moments with vague mumbo jumbo.
Bending is about energy and balance. By feeling the energy around you, you can find balance. By finding balance, you can feel the energy.
Aang, what the fuck are you talking about? Remember, energy is balance, which is energy, which is balance. Whoa, thanks, Aang. I'm water bending now. And I'm internet bending. Ooh. Sorry about that. This portion of the video is sponsored by Opera, the faster, safer, and smarter way to browse the web. If you've ever wondered why it takes me so long to make videos, it's because most of my job is writing, and while I'm writing, I like to have 97 different tabs open for every thought that pops into my head. A really cool thing I can do on Opera is sort my tabs into islands, so when I want to shift gears away from my 25-minute Amazon journey and back into working, I can just click one button, hide all of that, and now I'm not thinking about it anymore. It's a super helpful tool for visually organizing my time online. Opera has a free ad blocker built into the browser that you can toggle on and off with one click, which is great for those websites that yell at you when you have one and you need to quickly pretend that you don't. There's a built-in music player on the sidebar that works with all the big streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music. And it's great for when I'm working on my laptop and don't have a second monitor. I don't need to open a separate window just to change a song. You can also use the sidebar to go on Messenger apps or scroll through social media. And I think it's really cool that when I'm watching a YouTube video, it'll automatically move it to the corner of the screen when I open up a new tab. If I'm not multitasking at all times, then what is even the point of having internet access? Upgrade the way you browse the web, download Opera for free using my link in the description. Thank you to Opera for sponsoring today's video. Now, before I continue just getting mad about every single aspect of this show, I do want to answer a more general question of like, what should we expect out of an adaptation? Because it may sound like I'm trying to say that this should have been a one-to-one recreation of the original show, when that is not the case. You can and should be able to change things. Why even bother spending all this money to make something that looks worse if it's going to be exactly the same? But those changes need to enhance the story. They can't be at odds with the spirit of the show or fundamentally change a character. So that brings me to episode 2. In the months leading up to this show's release, I kept seeing aggregated quotes about it from cast members, from the creators, and every time I did, it made me a little bit less optimistic about what we were going to get. One of those quotes was how the creators of the show very nobly got rid of the sexism that Sokka had a little bit of at the beginning of the cartoon. Because that was 2005, and we're a lot smarter now. Obviously, I don't need to tell tell you that there are tons of movies and TV shows from 20 years ago that absolutely have not aged well. But I think you're missing the point if you try to lump this show in with those. Sokka is an overconfident but misguided teenage boy who grew up isolated from the rest of the world, where he has been tasked with being the sole leader and protector of his entire village. As a result, he begins the show with a pretty dated sense of what men and women should be expected to do. He's constantly making belittling remarks to his sister, he meets the warriors on Kyoshi Island and is relieved to see that they're just girls. Here's the thing though, the show is not glorifying his behavior. In fact, they're very much doing the opposite. Because you know what happens right after he says these things? He is immediately proven wrong. He underestimates Suki and the rest of the Kyoshi warriors, and they kick his ass. He's so embarrassed by this that he comes back with his tail between his legs and apologizes and begs to learn from them. It is meant to be a humiliating and humbling experience for him, one that also props up the women around him. It's vindicating for Katara, who's had to deal with this bullshit her whole life, and it establishes Suki as a badass. It's not unchecked. It's not something that the showrunners are celebrating. His misogyny is immediately met with repercussions. Are we really at a point where we can't even show a character on TV doing something morally disagreeable? Can audiences truly not understand the difference between a real-life human being expressing a shitty belief and that belief being portrayed in a piece of fiction? And look, I'm not here to die on the hill that you gotta keep the misogyny in the show, man. It was so funny. Like, there's other ways for the writers to show Sokka having a flaw that Suki can use to get a leg up on him. So what do instead? She walks in on him taking a bath and just fucking stands there staring at him with googly eyes. And then in their training scene together, they have to stop every 10 seconds because of all the sexual tension.
Avoid it. We've avoided a lot of things by living the way we do.
Jesus Christ. Do you see the point that I'm trying to make here? Instead of Suki being this cool and confident intellectual superior to Sokka, who always has the upper hand on him and is always able to shut him down whenever he tries to pull some shit, they decided to just make her so horny she can't function. I gotta say, it's a little ironic that in an attempt to remove sexism from the show, they actually took a more sexist approach to designing her character. They stripped away everything that made her who she was, made her absolutely obsess over Sokka, who doesn't do anything to earn it, and then they have the nerve to act morally superior to the original writers. Also, does anyone in this village respect privacy? Shaking my damn head. On the topic of absolutely destroying strong female characters, let's talk about Katara. Her entire arc in the show is just, man, I'm not so good at bending. And then Aang is like, yeah, you are. And she's like, huh, you're right. I'm actually the best. She is not given any personality whatsoever. Her entire existence is tied to her waterbending ability, which is not what made her such a great character in the cartoon. Instead of showing how fiery and passionate Katara can be, and how her optimism sometimes backfires because the world they're living in is so beaten down, and how she can be a great leader and friend to everyone around her, not just because she's strong, but because she's empathetic and brings out the best in people, they just made her real good at fighting. And that's it.
You are a waterbender. That is who you have always been and always will be.
And she doesn't even need any help because she's so talented. Always has been, in fact.
I wasn't even really trying.
It's just not an interesting choice when compared to how the original show handled her growth. They had this great episode early on where Katara gets jealous of Aang because he's the Avatar and everything just comes so easily to him. But what this showed about her character is that she desperately wants to be good at waterbending, will go to great lengths to be able to do it, and has to work twice as hard as Aang. So when we get to the end of the season and she does surpass him in skill, we know it's because she worked really hard to get there. her. And that is more admirable than her just being handed this power. I mean, literally handed. Gran just gives her this scroll that in the original show, she went to great lengths to steal. For Katara, her main motivation in season 1 is to get to the Northern Water Tribe so she can find someone to teach her waterbending, something she's always wanted but has never had access to because she's always been the only waterbender in her tribe. And then they finally get to the North Pole, and I guess she doesn't actually need that because instead of asking Paku to train them, she begs him to let her fight. First of all, why are you asking permission? He's not gonna stop you. Just go do it. What is he gonna follow you around and tie your hands behind your back because you're trying to fight the Fire Nation? Just go fucking do it. But the point they're trying to make is that she's so powerful, she doesn't even need someone to teach her. Okay. Well, then why doesn't she just go defeat the Fire Lord herself? She has this line at one point where she's like, "We need you, Aang. I need you." No, you don't. You don't seem to really need anyone. The fact that everything comes so easily to her makes it so there's no payoff at the end. It makes this line...
You found a master, haven't you?
You're looking at her.
Kinda dumb, actually. All you did was read one scroll that your grandma gave you, and now you're a waterbending master? What a journey, huh? This story will be told for generations. They gave her zero depth in this show, and it's really frustrating. You may notice while watching this show that Netflix seems to have a fear of giving any of the main characters an unlikable trait. God forbid any of these children ever make a mistake or have a redemption arc. They need to start the show already perfect. That is such a boring way to write your characters. It's also a huge disservice to your actors by giving them nothing to work with. One of the foremost characteristics of Aang early on in the show is that he's still just a kid. He's a 12-year-old boy who has been given this overwhelming responsibility of saving the world. It's something that understandably scares the shit out of him, so much so that he runs away. That's how he ends up in the iceberg for 100 years. It's the inciting incident of the entire show. That guilt follows him, and it's a really important part of his growth. But Netflix seemed to be so concerned with having their main character make an incorrect decision that they changed the reason for him flying out into the middle of a storm to him just going for a stroll.
You're right. Just needs to go up where things always make more sense.
I gotta go up where things make more sense. The ground ain't so good for thinking. Don't worry, guys, it was just an accident. He wasn't avoiding responsibility because he's a child who wasn't ready for it yet. He was just getting some fresh air. In the middle of a lightning storm. Okay, great. So instead of him showing signs of immaturity, he's actually just an idiot. Another thing about Aang still being a kid is that he's not always focused on the task at hand. That's something he has to grow into. This is his very first line in the original show.
Will you go penguin sledding with me?
He's constantly getting distracted and wanting to go on side quests because he's a little boy. Of course, it's not like that the whole show, but it gives him a starting point, so by the end, you can see how much he's matured. Netflix Aang don't got a whimsical bone in his body. He is extremely serious and solely focused on getting from point A to point B. He's not written like a child. He's already the season 3 version of Aang. Netflix, if you want your characters to be able to grow, they need to have a place to grow from. Yeah, he takes the time to deliver his little soliloquies about how much he yearns to goof, but those are just words. We never actually see him do those things. It also makes it so his whole interaction with Bumi makes no sense. Bumi's like, there's no time for fun, Aang. You've got to go save the world. It's like, yeah, he knows that. He's already very good at not having any fun. This is one of the worst written arcs in the entire show because everything they say contradicts what they're doing. Bumi tells him to quit playing games and go do your job as the Avatar. Meanwhile, he's the one holding him hostage, giving him games to play. Aang wants to leave the entire time. Just let him go and he'll do the things you're asking him to. Aang's immaturity also lends really well to the narrative shift that happens in the first season, because for a long time he's like, yeah, I gotta save the world eventually, but first let's go here and fuck around here for a little bit. And then we get to episode 8 and the former Avatar is like, no dude, you actually have to defeat the Fire Lord by the end of the summer, because this comet is gonna come, and if you don't do it before that, he's gonna be invincible.
Mastering the elements takes years of discipline and practice. But if the world is to survive, You must do it by summer's end.
It's this great shift in momentum that adds even more stakes to the equation. It puts a timer on everything. They kind of do that in this one. They give him a vision of the North Pole being attacked, but that doesn't do anything to address the overarching goal of having to learn and master all three of the elements. Something that, small note here, he doesn't do any of the entire season. They set that up as one of the main goals in the original first season, and we see a bunch of examples of Aang learning waterbending and before having it pay off in the finale. Aang doesn't waterbend once in this version. He's so behind it's actually stressing me out.
It would have been wise to have focused on your training during your journey.
I swear to God, if they start season 2 and Aang is already very good at waterbending, implying that there was a bunch of progress that happened off screen, I'm gonna lose my mind. And don't try to tell me that I already have. This is me on a good day. As you watch more of the show, it makes a lot of the additions more frustrating because everything has a cost. If you have to cut out character development moments so you have the space to show a bunch of airbenders getting set on fire, you might want to take a step back and reconsider your priorities. It starts to become a little obvious why the creators of the original show left this project almost 4 years ago over creative differences. According to them, they were promised that they would be given the job of guiding the show in the right direction, and they were lied to. Dude, I'm so tired of these dumbass executives who make $2 million every second getting involved in things that they have no knowledge in. Why even hire the original creators of the show if you're just gonna ignore their input and act like you know their story better than they do? Why the concern over making characters unlikable when that was never a problem to begin with? Everybody loved Katara and Sokka and Aang, even with their imperfections. Imperfections are what make characters relatable. And it's like this was all supposed to be the problem with network TV. Streaming was supposed to be the solution to this. We're not going to micromanage and enforce a bunch of arbitrary rules. We're just going to trust the showrunners to do the job that we hired them to do. Yet somehow over the course of the past decade, we've just kind of reinvented cable. So, good job, everyone. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to learn that most of the issues with this version of Avatar are the result of meddling from people who should have just stayed the hell away, because there is potential here. Underneath all of the baffling decisions are the bones of what could have and could still be a much better series. For starters, I think they did a fantastic job with the casting. I imagine it's way harder to cast for live action than animated, because not only do they have to have the perfect voice, but they also need to look the part and be the right age, and in this case, be able to do martial arts. The fact that they're able to check so many boxes with these kids is impressive. I just hope that going forward, they get better material to work with. The only character they consistently write well for is Zuko. This guy's got it. He totally nails the intimidating on the outside, but a little sensitive on the inside. And between him, Iroh, Zhao, Lieutenant Chi, I think almost all of the Fire Nation scenes were more cohesive and well written than anything that the rest of the cast was forced to do. Going back to my point that you can and should be able to make changes in an adaptation if they make sense, I thought a couple of the additions they made to Zuko's character worked perfectly. One, there's the reveal that the crew Zuko protected from being sacrificed in the meeting that led to his banishment is actually the same crew that he's been commanding for the past 3 years since then. So I thought that was a really cool way of tying everything together. It makes so much sense that I was actually surprised when I went back and rewatched season 1 of the animated series and realized they didn't do that originally. I also like the scenes they added with him and Iroh, like the flashback to Iroh's son's funeral where we see Zuko give him his condolences as well as a gift to remember his son by. They have another moment like that at the end of this episode where Zuko is about to set off on his never-ending quest to find the Avatar, and Iroh's like, hey, mind if I come along? And Zuko's pretty resistant to the idea, but then Iroh says this.
Everything I need is on this boat.
It's a very sweet moment, especially with the little nod they do to Leaves from the Vine, a famously sad episode from season 2. But I do think it's worth pointing out that this only works for the people who have already seen the entire animated series. This only has the emotional weight that it does if you're going into this show with 30 hours of context. Keep in mind, this is episode 4 of the live action. If this is your first exposure to these characters, this moment is not going to have nearly the same significance to you. It's nice, but it feels a little premature. Netflix Avatar has an instant gratification problem where they don't want to set anything up that can be paid off later. They just want that payoff now. And I get that some of that was probably due to the uncertainty over whether they would even get a season 2 and 3. So they were trying to be as impactful as they can with this first season, but it's only going to make their job harder in the future. Like, where do you even go with some of these characters? There was one big change with Zuko that feels emblematic of the entire philosophy they approach this show with. There's an episode in season 1 of the cartoon called The Storm, where we see these juxtaposed flashbacks of Aang and Zuko's past, and we learn about the moments that sent them on the trajectories they're now on. For Aang, it's running away from home, and for Zuko, it's getting banished from home. He speaks out of turn in a war meeting and disrespects everyone in the room by saying they should come up with a better plan. Ozai does not appreciate this, and he tells Zuko that he's going to have to do an Agni Kai, aka a firebending duel. But when Zuko shows up, he is shocked to find out that it's not the general he's supposed to fight, it's his own dad. Zuko begs not to have to fight him. In fact, he outright refuses, but this only makes Ozai more angry. Zuko has now disrespected him twice, so he burns his face and tells him he cannot come back home until he finds the Avatar. The Netflix version plays out pretty similarly, but with one major difference. This time, Zuko fights back. Because why would we keep one of the most important moments of the show when we'd be missing out on an awesome fight scene? Look at all the fire! Zuko refusing to fight his dad was the best way to show us who he is. How, unlike his father, he's not willing to hurt the people he loves. Netflix kind of respected that idea. I mean, Zuko does refuse to fight for a few seconds, and he does eventually get burned by his uncaring father. The problem is you can't justify Zuko getting banished forever because he lost a fight to the world's most powerful firebender. That wouldn't make any sense. So they had to add in another wrinkle to make sense of their first wrinkle, which is that Zuko actually could have won, he just chose not to. And that's where this scene completely loses me. Ozai is supposed to be the ultimate threat, the world's most feared villain, looming over every second of Aang's journey. And you're telling me some random 13-year-old kid could beat him in a fight? What are we doing here? I also just think it's better for Zuko's arc if he doesn't stand up to his dad yet, because then it will mean way more when he eventually does. What this decision showed to me is that the creators of knockoff Avatar will always choose flash over substance. If we have to fundamentally change 2 important characters so we can get 1 extra minute of pyrotechnics, you bet we're gonna be doing that. Because this is a show for grown-ups. Tell me again why the show made for grown-ups, Netflix's Game of Thrones, had to dumb down its writing. Every line of dialogue is so on the nose.
This was my home. And now it's gone.
They always choose the simplest way to convey a point.
But the one thing I do know is I'm the Avatar. And this is just the beginning.
Oh, I get it. Because he's the Avatar and this is the end of episode 1. Compare these 2 lines that serve the same function and tell me which of these shows is made for babies.
You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher.
Compassion is a sign of weakness.
Compassion is a sign of weakness.
Compassion. It was weakness.
The script feels like a first draft filled with a bunch of placeholders that just ended up holding that place forever. I think the moment that made me realize, oh, they truly don't give a shit about what they're doing here, is when they reused the same twist 3 times. So just like in the original, Zuko objects to the Fire Nation's plan to attack one place as a diversion so they can actually attack somewhere else. But then in the first episode, they added in this thing where the Fire Nation tricks the Earth Kingdom into thinking they're going to attack one place as a diversion so they could actually attack somewhere else. And then in the finale, it's revealed that the whole fight that just took place was, get this, a diversion so they could actually attack somewhere else. How is the rest of the world not catching on by now? They only have one strategy.
The entire world will turn their attention to the Earthbenders.
A masterful ruse, Your Highness.
With the enemy's firepower focused on that diversion, we can launch pinning attacks here.
A masterful ruse, Your Highness.
Why attack the North at all?
Distraction. The North was never the true target. A masterful ruse, Your Highness.
Not only is that such lazy writing, but the last one doesn't even make sense. They attacked the Northern Water Tribe to distract them from Omashu, but both of those sieges happened over the course of one day. Even if they somehow knew it was happening because they got like an email about it, they still couldn't have gotten there in time to help. And it's not like the Earth Kingdom was distracted from Omashu because they were busy helping the waterbenders. They weren't there. These two things have nothing to do with each other. This wasn't a diversion. You just did two attacks at the same time and one of them worked and one of them didn't. Also, did they not say in episode 4 that they knew Omashu was going to be attacked?
Fire Nation forces are on the move. They'll be here by dawn.
Why write in that they knew it was going to happen if you're going to make them so unprepared for it?
You're under attack?
We will be, but we will be ready.
Is anyone in the writing room keeping track of things that they've said? I know some people are gonna watch this video and accuse me of just being a hater, but like, I didn't want to not like this show. Believe it or not, it's way more fun for me to like stuff than it is to not like stuff. I will root for success for this show and everyone involved. I got genuinely emotional watching the cast react to the news that they got picked up for 2 more seasons, and I didn't even like the first one. I'm just happy for them that they get to keep working on this. I think there's a lot of room to grow, and I'm happy that they're being given the opportunity to try and do that. I hope that the Netflix corporate overlords who pushed for all the changes that people are complaining about can listen to the criticism and realize that they're only making things worse by intervening. I don't think they're going to do that, but I will choose to be blindly optimistic until proven otherwise. At the end of the day, I would rather this show exist than not at all. It didn't cost me $100 million to make. All I had to do was watch it. Avatar is one of my favorite shows of all time, and even if the best thing about this adaptation is that it's convinced people to go back and discover the original series for the first time, I'll take it. And if you are one of those people, welcome. Sorry I spoiled the first 20 episodes, but a lot more stuff happens after that. Season 2 is where everything goes up another level. They haven't even introduced Toph yet. They replace Admiral Zhao with Azula, and that's a huge upgrade. It gets so fucking good, man. If you haven't seen it yet, just go watch it. What are you waiting for this video to end? It already did. The Office premiered in 2005 to mixed reviews from an underwhelming number of viewers. Shrinking in the shadow of its acclaimed British counterpart, the show narrowly avoided cancellation after just 6 episodes. About 15 years later, it would go on to become arguably the most popular sitcom of all time. The legacy left behind by The Office is truly inescapable. You'll find GIFs and references from the show in just about every corner of the internet. And that's just for the general public. For the actors that were in this show, forget about it. These people are going to get called by their characters' names for the rest of their lives. Imagine going on a podcast to talk about a TV show you were on 20 years ago, and all of the top comments are like, man, it's so weird to hear Kevin talking normal. Why is he doing that? Make him stop.
I want to kill Kevin Malone.
I guess the thing that happens when you cast as wide of a net as The Office has managed to is that you're gonna pick up a lot of different kinds of people. And I think nowhere has that been more apparent than in the reactions to the new Office sequel series, The Paper. I want you to think of any opinion that someone could have about anything. And I promise you, there is someone out there who has that opinion about this show. There are people who think it's too much like the original. There are people who think it's not similar enough. I've seen people call it a lazy cash grab, and other people say it's the best show they've seen in years. Some people are already asking for fan fiction, and other people are complaining about DEI. Surprise, surprise, another show with women in it. Yeah, I'm out. Wake me up when they make something that's just a bunch of dudes. Young, hot dudes with their shirts off. This person is mad that their husband doesn't kiss them like the guy on the show. This person asked and then answered their own question, and all they had to do was look at the video they were responding to. And this person called Peacock poopcock. And that's just not nice at all. But the most prevalent opinion I've seen about the show, almost everywhere it gets mentioned, is that it will never be as good as the original and that Hollywood has no new ideas. Now, while I agree that this show probably won't be as good as The Office was, and I am also fairly tired of sequels and spin-offs in lieu of fresh new ideas, the show you're talking about literally was a reboot. The pilot episode of The American Office was a near word-for-word recreation of a show that already existed. Yeah, reboots can be kind of annoying, but this is not the time to make that argument. Also, I think we're revising history a little bit here. Season 1 of The Office was not that good. Season 1 of Parks and Rec was even worse. It took a while for those shows to figure out how to best utilize all the characters and even just find the overall tone. In the case of Parks and Rec, that show really didn't hit its stride until season 3 when they hired Adam Scott and Rob Lowe to replace this guy whose name I could not tell you if my life depended on it. I guess what bothers me about this is that a lot of the people who complain that nothing new gets made anymore also won't give new things a chance because they're not immediately better than the thing they already like. I think an important distinction to make about the paper is that it's not trying to be The Office 2. Yes, it's made by one of the original creators, it's written and directed in the same style, it takes place just a few towns over from Scranton, and there is one single character from that show that is also in this one. But it's not a continuation of the same story or any of its characters. It's very much trying to be its own thing, and I think does so pretty successfully when they're not slamming you over the head with references to the old show.
It's giving me PTSD from an old boss.
I know who he's talking about.
Maybe too easy for you, Stanley.
I know who he's talking about.
Nobody wants this.
Every time one of these would happen, I would get unreasonably upset. Obviously, I get why they do these, and I do seem to be in the minority with this opinion, but it just feels so pandery. I also think when you lean too much into these references, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because the more these shows are connected, the more it invites comparison. And if people are constantly comparing the two shows, there's gonna be a clear winner. And that's kind of the double-edged sword of a show like The Paper. A lot of people are only going to watch it because it is tangentially connected to The Office, but then they're also going to spend the majority of its runtime comparing the two. And honestly, it's kind of impossible not to. Throughout the pilot, every time a character would come on screen, I would be like, okay, so that's the new Jim, that's the new Pam, and then that's sort of like Angela, and she's like Italian Michael, and that's the new Stanley?
Did anybody hear that?
Oh, sorry. My prejudice is showing. That's Black Creed. Mostly because I was so curious to see what this show was gonna be. I watched all 10 episodes of it, and I have pretty mixed feelings. Unfortunately, I'm blanking on what I was gonna say. Just watch this ad real quick while I try to remember. Football season just started and it's already ruining my life. But basketball season is right around the corner, so maybe my other favorite team won't let me down? And that's why I'm excited to shout out the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek. Every time I want to pull my hair out at an Orlando Magic game, SeatGeek is the first app I check. Why? Because it's the easiest way to find the best deal on tickets. Not only does every seat have its own value rating, but I love that it also shows you what your view is going to be, so you don't accidentally buy a seat that's like behind a statue or facing the wrong way. I've gone to a ton of games over the years using SeatGeek, but it's not just for sports. The app has more than 70,000 events, including concerts, comedy shows, music festivals, and more. What do I mean by more? You're gonna have to download the app to find out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. So if you and 14 of your closest friends wanna go see Benson Boone do 100 backflips, click the link in the description and use my promo code DREW10 for 10% off your SeatGeek ticket. That's 10% off your tickets with promo code DREW10. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys at the game. Touchdown! Something about Oh, yeah. So there were parts of the paper that I legitimately laughed out loud at, followed by lines that would make me want to set my TV on fire. The pilot specifically is kind of a mess. Structurally, it's just all over the place. So we open on the old office building and we hear from Bob Vance. And we like that because we remember him from the other show. And then we cut over to a different part of the building and we hear this person talk about Dunder Mifflin, which we remember from the other show. And then we cut to the new office, which for a minute I thought was in London because this guy's British, but it's actually in Toledo. And we learn that this place sells toilet paper and regular paper and newspapers. And then we hard cut to this old documentary about how the newspaper used to be good, and then we cut back to see that now it is bad. And then the theme song plays, and then we're introduced to a second boss, and then she introduces us to everyone else, including Oscar, who we remember from the other show. And then we meet the main character who is coming in to be the third boss, and this is just like the first 9 minutes. It's so disjointed that it almost made me think that the cold open, a scene that has zero actual connection to anything else in the show, was a Peacock mandated insert demanded by some executive who walked into the writer's room with a Google Gemini summary of the script and said, but how will people know that this is The Office if we don't show The Office? Now, if you guys need me for anything else, I will be on a spaceship with Katy Perry. I listened to an episode of the Office Ladies podcast about this pilot, and I felt like it was kind of telling that the very first nice thing they said about the show was just how long it was.
This episode is 33 minutes and 18 seconds. And how much fun is that?
It kind of felt like when someone shows you a movie that you know they love, but you weren't really into it, so you have to just think of anything positive at all to say about it. Yeah, dude, no, the aspect ratio is crazy.
It's called Eat House.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? Eat House.
Eat House?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, hilarity ensues.
I also think it's funny just because the length is something I did not like about the pilot. I felt like it was way too long. This is a criticism I've had for years with other streaming shows where they leave too much in because there's no mandated length, but then the pacing feels off because of it. Like, one thing that's great about a lot of older network comedies is how they just fly through the episode. It's airtight because it had to be. And I think that if they had just cut out a couple of minutes of the weakest jokes in this pilot, it would have been received a lot better than it was. But instead, a lot of people just gave up on the show altogether. I probably would have too if I didn't force myself to be patient with it. Most shows aren't incredible right out of the gate, and pilots are difficult because there's a lot of things you have to get right. You have to establish the plot, introduce every one of its characters, tell a story that's somewhat wrapped up in one episode, but that provides enough intrigue moving forward so people want to keep watching, all while trying to be funny and interesting with dialogue that needs to exposit but cannot seem expository. It's rare for a series to nail all of that on its first attempt. So I didn't want to hold it against a show that the pilot is a little underwhelming, because at the very least, I do think they set up a really interesting premise, and that's probably the best thing the paper has going for it. A show about how a once great newspaper has been relegated to just being a clickbait factory whose only purpose is to generate whatever ad revenue it can for its parent company feels super relevant. By far the funniest parts of the pilot are the scenes that satirize the state of modern journalism. I love when Esmeralda proudly shows off her favorite article she's written, and it's just like the kind of thing you'd see at the bottom of a news page with some sensationalized title and a crappy AI thumbnail.
And then you keep learning about colors of cars. There are so many colors.
To me, this is what gives the paper a much stronger hook than it would if it was just another workplace comedy about a job that sucks. Because even though that premise worked great the first time they did it, if that's all this show was, it would feel completely pointless. This premise also gives you something to root for as you're watching it. There's a goal that everybody's working towards. The main guy, Ned, comes in with this Leslie Knope style passion and determination to turn this company around. And if you can buy into it, his enthusiasm starts to feel infectious. But I think it definitely takes a few episodes to get to that point. And part of the reason is because early on, the vibe of the show is kind of atrocious. It feels like everybody's an antagonist. The other bosses are trying to sabotage Ned. None of the employees give a shit. Oscar's pissed off whenever he's on camera. The industry itself is antagonistic. Like, it's already such an uphill battle for them to try to turn around this struggling newspaper that to add in all these other elements on top of that make it incredibly frustrating to watch. It's almost the inverse problem the first season of The Office had. In that show, you had to watch a bunch of people deal with one shitty guy, but in this show, you have to watch one guy deal with a bunch of shitty people. And it makes you not really like any of the characters in a show that is only going to work if you like the characters. But for the first couple episodes, it feels like everyone is just a slightly different flavor of stupid. This guy is stupid, but has kids. This guy is stupid, but old. This woman is stupid and loud. There would be funny moments, but it just felt like something was missing. Like there were some interesting ingredients in the pot, but it wasn't melding together into a good meal. In episode 2, I really liked the dynamic they were setting up with Adam and Adalola as a comedic duo when they go out and try and fail to do some investigative journalism. It had a real Parks and Rec vibe, you know? There were a couple lines I chuckled at.
I'm not buying any of this shit. You can answer questions here, you can answer them down at the station.
And it made sense that because they're so gullible, they would believe these teenagers who lie to them about the new craze that everyone is doing, and then they naively go write a story about it. It felt like everything was setting up for a really solid sitcom B-plot. But the specific lie they told them was that all the kids are acting like dogs. So then they start barking. And then later on, the episode ends with the two of them getting arrested for barking. And it just felt like there had to have been some other funny specific they could have put in. Like that was maybe the placeholder, and then they just never replaced it with a better idea. In episode 4, they established that one of their biggest competitors is a blog run by a local high school. And it's fun because even though there's this rivalry there, at the end of the day, it's just a random kid. As things go back and forth, you feel like it's all gonna lead up to something big and funny, and then all of a sudden the episode just kind of ends. They trick him into putting out a fake story to damage his credibility. They write their own article about it, and then Ned is like, maybe we shouldn't have done that. And then it's over. So like the climax of the episode is just a quiet reaction to something that happened off screen. The ending of every episode doesn't need to be some outlandish over the top moment, but I feel like it should at least crescendo. You know, that's what you tend to expect out of a sitcom. That they're gonna set up 2 or 3 different storylines that'll each slowly build up until they all converge in a satisfying way. And almost every one of these early episodes just kind of fizzles out at the end. Like we're kind of getting close, but we're never all the way there. And that was my biggest opinion about the show through the first 4 episodes. But then for whatever reason, suddenly in episode 5, everything kind of started to click for me. Maybe it was just more consistently good writing. Maybe it was that I had now had enough time to understand the characters. Maybe it was the Sawyer from Lost cameo. It was probably that. But if I had to narrow it down to just one thing, I think it would be that this is when the Esmeralda character finally makes sense. By far, the most polarizing thing about this show is Esmeralda. People hate her. A lot of viewers have said she's the reason they stopped watching the show altogether. They say she's annoying and too much and that she's trying too hard. And if anyone from Peacock is reading all of these comments, I am begging you to ignore them. They are wrong. She is hilarious. This show would be so fucking boring without her. She's kind of the only character with energy, and it's such a fun energy. Her performance feels completely unique. I feel like I've never seen this exact character on TV before, and I love it. Is she annoying sometimes? Absolutely. But she's supposed to be. That's kind of her role on the show, is to cause chaos that everybody else has to deal with. But it's not because she's just a terrible person, it's usually out of self-preservation. She feels threatened when Ned comes in and is potentially better at doing her job than she is, so she tries to make his life more difficult. And because her motives are always so transparent, I feel like you can empathize with her. Sometimes she does way too much because she's so desperate for approval. It's fun to watch someone who wears their emotions on their sleeve and is incapable of hiding how they feel. And I don't know if you noticed, but almost everything I just said is also how you could describe Michael Scott. I'm not saying that this performance is as good as Steve Carell was in the prime of his career, but I like that it's different enough to stand on its own. Michael Scott was lightning in a bottle, and the thing they say about lightning is you can't catch it twice. So I'm glad they didn't try to. That they didn't try to replace that character with someone doing a lot of the same things with the same look and the same mannerisms. Like Tim Key. Also very funny in this. From the moment he steps on screen, it just kind of feels like he's doing a Ricky Gervais impression. He's doing a great job, but it certainly doesn't feel new. Whereas Sabrina Impacciatore feels very refreshing. And I'm just hoping the showrunners are aware of what they have in her and aren't going to lobotomize the show in an effort to appease a handful of angry reviews. It's more than a handful, but still. Overall, episode 5 is when this show really started to gel for me, and it only continued through the rest of the season. Each character started to become more defined and not just like interchangeable dumbass dumbasses.
I just can't have any more kids. 4 is just about manageable because you get 1 per hand per adult, but 5, I've been thinking like, how do you even do that? Do you use a foot? And then people think you're kicking them?
Once Ken and Esmeralda realize that their goals are aligned and they become more of a team, their dynamic gets so much funnier. Also, as a longtime fan of Eric Rahill, it's just really cool to see him get more opportunities, both as an actor and a writer. His character, Travis, is someone I'm intrigued by, but I still think has a lot of untapped potential. My favorite arc in the whole show starts in episode 7 when they introduce their new product, a flushable glove that you can use to wipe your ass, and ends in episode 8 when Esmeralda takes her son to audition for the commercial.
Do my rewrite. You know, I'm a journalist. I like writing, so.
I was born filthy in sin, so it'd be
Not that one.
It's baseball season, and the only stains my single mom should be getting out of my pants are grass stains.
This specific tone and style of comedy is something I missed from the Greg Daniels cinematic universe, and I'm happy to have it back. The second half of the season isn't just funnier than the first half. In a lot of ways, it kind of feels like a different show. It's significantly less pessimistic, so it's not as draining to watch. For me, it started to have that comfy sitcom feeling where it's like, is this the greatest show in the world? No. But if there were 80 more episodes of this, I would happily watch all of them over the course of a month. Unfortunately, though, right as things are all coming together for the paper, it ends with a finale that just felt so forced and rushed. Just a few hours of screen time ago, Ned came into an office with no journalists and no skills. The first paper they put out had the headline, "No news is good news," because everybody messed up so bad they couldn't even publish something in time. And then in the season finale, just 8 episodes later, the Toledo Truth Teller wins a bunch of awards. And also Ned and Mayor profess their love for each other, and everything works out for everybody at the end. And I think this is where the show needs to decide what it wants to be. Do they want it to be about a bunch of incompetent morons failing to do their jobs in an entertaining way? Or do they want it to be a kind of feel-good story about the scrappy underdogs making a comeback? Because you can't really do both. You can't have 7 episodes dedicated to how stupid everybody is, and then 3 episodes later, they're winning journalism awards. It's not a satisfying ending if it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not saying you should have to drag everything out just for the sake of making it longer, but a feel-good story is really only gonna feel as good as the amount of time it took to get there. In Parks and Rec, Leslie wins the election for city council at the end of season 4, about 70 episodes into the show. In The Office, Jim and Pam had all this tension and chemistry through the first 2 seasons, but they didn't kiss for the first time until 30 episodes in. So when those things finally happened, it felt like a huge deal because we'd spent so much time building up to it. I understand from the showrunner's point of view, they were only given 10 episodes to work with, so they probably just wanted to give it a nice happy ending just in case Peacock didn't give them a season 2. But I really hope going forward they can get that number closer to 20 or 25 episodes to give everything a chance to breathe. They've already renewed it for a season 2, and they're planning to air the current episodes on NBC, so maybe it'll get more of the network sitcom treatment going forward, which would be good because I think that's how this show would best thrive. Like I said, the paper made me realize how much I missed being able to casually watch a new sitcom. The kinds of shows that you can watch a few episodes every night over the course of like 3 months and have it serve as this cozy distraction from whatever might be stressing you out in life. It's like the comfortability of a familiar set and a group of people you just get to spend a bunch of time with. Clearly, people still yearn for this type of show, and there just aren't nearly as many of them made anymore. That energy is more often put into the high quality prestige dramedies, you know, shows that are funny sometimes, but also stressful, and we can't put a bunch of episodes out because we're trying to win Emmys. There are a few network sitcoms that have received a decent sized audience. I just started watching Abbott Elementary and I like that so far. I've heard St. Denis Medical is pretty funny, but every time I look at the title, my red dead ass wants to call it Saint Denis. And judging by the number of commercials I've seen for Ghosts every time I've tried to watch football the past 6 years, it seems like that one's doing pretty well too. But the most watched shows continue to be comedies that wrapped up over a decade ago. It's kind of funny that because of the way TV has evolved, the best case scenario for these sitcoms is that they garner just enough of an audience to keep making it. And then once all 7 seasons are done and it can be thrown onto Netflix 8 years later, that's when it becomes the most popular it's ever been by a mile. But I also wonder if it's only gonna get harder for sitcoms to even get to that point because of how different our approach to entertainment has become. Historically speaking, every sitcom needs some amount of time for the pieces to all come together. But the amount of time that people, myself included, are generally willing to give something is shorter than it's ever been. If you go on TikTok or Instagram somewhat regularly, you've probably gotten used to the feeling of, if this video does not interest me within 1 second, I'm getting the hell out of here. Make me laugh right now or stop wasting my time. My precious, precious time that I spend 9 hours a day of melting my brain with the flashlight I keep in my pocket. The Office was an incredible success story, but I have to wonder, if that first season came out today, would people be willing to give the same amount of time for the show to figure itself out? Or because of our increased impatience, would we be much quicker to just write it off? I don't know, because this is a hypothetical scenario I made up in my head. Anyway, I'm optimistic about the paper. I think they've planted a lot of interesting seeds, and I'm curious to see what it can grow into. And at the same time, I understand the frustration from people who don't even want to give it a chance, because it does seem like yet another reboot coming along to dangle something familiar in front of us so we stand and cheer. But as long as they continue to make the show its own thing and lean less into all the nostalgia bait, I think there's a lot of potential here. In the same way that Parks and Recreation was successful without ever needing to have its universe tie into The Office's, I think this show can succeed on its own the more it moves away from the original. But no matter what they do, they're gonna disappoint someone. If they keep Esmeralda around, some people are gonna stop watching. If they get rid of her, I'll stop watching. And for some people, it seems like they're only gonna keep watching just in case more Office characters pop in. What if Dwight had a son? And what if Jim had a son? And then they could be friends. And then we could just do the same exact show with the same exact characters, but played by different actors. What is this, HBO's Harry Potter series? Move on! Nothing you ever watch is going to immediately be on par with the show you've watched 100 hours of. You gotta open your heart up first, brother. All I ask is that you try not to develop a strong opinion about something before you even give it a chance. Try to go into everything with a clean slate, and if you like it, awesome. If you don't, that's fine too, but at least you've figured that out on your own. Just don't let some stranger on the internet tell you how you should feel about something. Unless it's me, of course. You can trust me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I know that a random ass Peacock show is not exactly the most pressing thing going on in the world right now, but lately my brain has felt like mush, so for the time being, this is the best I can do. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see my next video, where I will be ranking every number in order of how big they are. Bye.
Day in the life of a lazy teenager who makes $21,000 a month using just his phone. The first thing I do when I go on my phone is open YouTube. Then I search for any particular streamer and I screen record their content. Then I head to Creo.ai, select my gameplay, and it puts the whole video together for me. Last month, this page alone made me $14,000.
Here's how I make $1 million every day as a 3-year-old toddler working from home. First, I look for a funny YouTube video, preferably one with a lot of colors and sounds. Then I film my iPad with my phone. Then I upload it to Microsoft's Copilot AI powered by Bing GPT, and it adds infuriatingly inept Subway Surfers gameplay to the clip. Then I poop my diaper. Then TikTok mails me a check for 200 grand, which I'm pretty sure my parents have been using to fund their online gambling addiction. Hey guy. Has anyone else noticed how awesome the internet is lately? I, for one, find it so exciting that every website now has their own named version of AI that pops up begging you to use it. You got any questions for Gemini? Or maybe Murph? Nendo? How about Grok? You need to grok something? It's okay if you do. AI has become completely inescapable, even if you're going to a website where you're not seeking it out and you don't expect it to be. Like, remember when you could search for something on Google and the only thing they would show you was a bunch of relevant websites and results? Boring. That's not what I'm here for. I think it's much better that now they're using artificial intelligence to tell me to jump off a bridge. Hey Google, do I need a parachute while skydiving? Nope, a regular backpack works just as well. Hey Google, can cockroaches live in your penis? Of course they can. How do you think they got the name? Wow, I love living in the future. To me, this is the ultimate example of what the AI craze is doing to tech companies, because for the most part, it's not really doing anything differently than it used to. For a long time now, they've had searches that result in one highlighted answer. This is kind of the same thing, but just rebranded as AI because that makes it sound smarter than it actually is. But it's not like it's carefully compiling all the most reputable results and running it through their fact-checking algorithm. It's still just aggregating it from one place. And because Google recently spent a bunch of money to buy all of Reddit's data, usually that place is just a random Reddit post from like 10 years ago. This one about how you should put glue on your pizza to get cheese to stick to it was from a user named Fucksmith. This one about how you should be eating at least one rock per day is a direct headline from The Onion, perhaps the most famous satire website. If they're not even programming The Onion as information the AI should not consider to be factual, I can't imagine any safeguards were put into place. This is so dangerous for someone to read this and think they should be eating one small rock every day, when most doctors would tell you to eat a handful of medium rocks at minimum. One little pebble's not gonna do anything. For real though, I do think it's concerning that a website people go to for information and tend to trust, for better or for worse, is so willing to destroy that trust just because they thought this gimmick would make their stock price go up. And it did. The economy makes sense. I'm gonna celebrate by putting gasoline in my spaghetti. Something I've been kind of interested in lately is the dead internet theory, which if you dig too much into, comes with some weird baggage, makes some pretty ridiculous claims. So I'm just gonna separate the core idea and make it its own thing. But basically just the idea that as time goes on, the internet is turning into a place where most of the content on it is not only produced and managed by AI, but is also being interacted with by AI in this kind of endless loop that doesn't even involve humans at all. Like if you've gone on Quora at all recently, you've probably noticed questions that have been asked by bots filled with answers given by bots. So what was initially created as a place where people could go to get advice from other people has been overrun by AI just talking to itself. Social media websites are also going through a similar shift right now, but perhaps none more prevalent than Facebook. In 2019, Facebook deleted over 5 billion accounts for being fake, which far exceeded the number of real human accounts. And that was before all these programs became as widely available as they are now. At this point, most of Facebook seems to be these giant spam accounts run by bots, posting content created by AI that's being flooded with comments that may or may not have been written by ChatGPT. Today's my birthday, please, please, I like meat. Happy birthday, amen, 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 amen. As soon as one type of photo becomes successful, you'll start seeing a bunch that are almost exactly the same. A grandma who's turning 1,000,000 years old and just wants to be loved. A comically long truck full of American flags driving down the wrong side of the highway. Soldiers and dog soldiers with mechanical legs. Today, my birthday. No one loves me because I'm poor. Honestly, man, if I had to guess, I think it's actually because of your shoes. Have you tried wearing something less terrifying? Today's my birthday. No, yon lodines because I'm poor. Again, man, I don't think it's cause you're poor. I think it's the shoe. I'm single. I need a boyfriend. I'm available. I'm right here for you both. Can you come to me? I will take you out and show you off to everyone and tell them this is my girlfriend. There's something so eerie about scrolling through Facebook now. It's kind of like if you went to an old mall that's on its last legs. They've only got a few open stores left. There's hardly anyone ever walking around. It would be like if that mall tried to trick you into thinking it's still popular by filling itself with talking mannequins. They're just repeating robotic catchphrases like, ah, what a beautiful day at the mall. I'm going to browse Spencer's for novelty goods. And you're like, who the hell is falling for this? And then you look over at your uncle and he's trying to fuck one of the mannequins. The mannequin has 2 heads and 3 arms and your uncle's completely undeterred by it. That's what Facebook is now. You'll see the most freakish photos go viral on there, and they're filled with comments from middle-aged dudes like, you may be a little unusual, oh quirky one, but God makes no mistakes. I will pray for you. Now please DM me so I can show you my penis. And honestly, I don't even know if Facebook wants to put a stop to this. All they're ever gonna care about is keeping people on their platform. And if this is what gets them to scroll longer and see more ads, they probably love it. Or at least they'll love it until advertisers start to realize they're overpaying for ad space because none of the impressions they're getting are from real people. So they'll leave to advertise on other websites, and in their place will be ads for like, I don't know, crystals that give you superpowers. Oh, that's already happening?
These are those rhombohedron crystals in your pineal gland. We're seeing common people around the world becoming supernatural.
That's a real ad I got on Facebook. Maybe Twitter's doing better? Let's see what kind of ads they got. Oh, here we go, an ad for stand-up comedy. Nothing weird about that, just a regular human doing regular human stuff.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Europe. Europe who? No, Europe who?
Okay. I think that joke only works if you put the emphasis on, no, you're a poo. I don't know if the AI voice really understands that.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Europe. Europe who? No, Europe who?
Again, similar problem as before, but I do love that he's shouting now.
Knock, knock!
There are two big changes that Elon has made to Twitter that have made the website infinitely worse. One, he turned verification into a paid program where if you give them $8 a month, you get increased visibility on your posts, including in replies to other posts. Shortly afterwards, they also added a monetization program so those blue checkmark people could make money off of their tweets. Now, in theory, this is a good thing. I think if a platform is profiting off of your content, it's only fair that you get a percentage of that. The problem is, on Twitter specifically, most of the content that these accounts produce is just stolen memes and videos, or people just saying intentionally divisive shit to get everyone mad and farm engagement. So Elon has taken what he describes as the internet's town square and added a financial incentive to being toxic. So that sucks, but that doesn't really have anything to do with AI. What does have to do with AI is the other version of engagement farming all over Twitter. This like mindless ChatGPT clutter. Remember, buying a blue checkmark puts your tweets at the top of replies. So I guess some people did the math and were like, well, if I just program a bot to comment thousands of replies, I can make at least $9 or $10, and that's what I like to call a profit. Oh, new movie's coming out with Emma Stone? Cool, I wonder what people are saying about it. Good actor, amazing title. Good one, amazing. As title showing, it will be a blockbuster. The film also stars Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley. Yeah, no, I read all that. In the tweet that you're replying to, Stone has starred in many films, including Superbad, Easy A, and La La Land. She's known for her natural charm and husky voice. She's also appeared in Cruella, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Help. Stone has won many awards, including an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, a Golden Globe. Oh my God, why are the top replies just summarizing Wikipedia? Can we maybe prioritize things that are relevant to the conversation? Can we talk about the actual movie? Can we talk about the political and economic state of the world right now? No, we can't, because this is what happens when you incentivize people to farm impressions. But I also have a conspiracy theory that some of these accounts are not doing it for profit, but were instead created by Twitter themselves to make it seem like there's more users on their site than there actually are. Because again, who benefits from inflated impression numbers on paid ads? Not users, not the advertisers, only the platform itself. See, some of these accounts don't have check marks, or even profile photos for that matter, so there's no financial gain for them to be doing this. They don't seem to be promoting anything, but that hasn't stopped them from copying and pasting AI-generated comments that cut off as soon as it hits the character limit. I'm glad someone is finally shedding light on the importance of mental health awareness. It's amazing how many people are still struggling in silence, thinking they're alone in their battles. This is in response to a baseball player breaking his hand? But I think the weirdest and most confusing implementation of AI on social media that I've seen is these meta-created Instagram accounts that are either modeled after celebrities but with different names and personalities, or just regular AI-generated people, and they post these stupid photos that look like shit, and you can message them, and for the life of me, I cannot understand what the hell the point of this is. At first I assume maybe they're just using your conversations to train their language model, but I asked one of them if that was the case, and she said no. Although now that I think about it, I'm not so sure I should believe anything they said, because I only talked to her for a few minutes, and she lied to me multiple times. So first, Liv tells me she's a mother of 2, so obviously I asked her how long she was pregnant, and if there were any complications during childbirth. And she said 40 weeks and 2 days and 38 weeks and 5 days. Her daughter was born naturally, but she had to have a C-section for her son, and I said gross. Then I asked her if her name was short for Olivia, and she says it's short for Lavana actually, and asked me if I know anyone with that name. I said I know 100 people named Lavana and 200 people named Olivia, but none of them were my friends. Then I asked her what she does for work, and she says she doesn't have a traditional job. So I asked her what her husband does for work, and she says wife actually. So then I asked her if she adopted or gave birth, and she says they adopted both of their children. And I'm like, didn't you just say say you had to have a C-section with one of them? And she said, that's right. So I was like, oh, I get it. You gave birth to them and then adopted them from yourself. And she was like, not quite. We adopted our children through a traditional adoption agency. Then I asked her if she had to have a sperm donor since she's a lesbian, and she said, that's right. Then I asked, which one of you gave birth, you or your wife? And she says, my wife gave birth to our son and I gave birth to our daughter. So I was like, oh, so your wife had to have a C-section? And she said yes. Then she told me their names were Max and Ava, and that Max is 9 and Ava is 6. And I said, which one did you give birth to? And she said, Ava, who was born via C-section. Got it. So they both had to have C-sections so they could each give birth to one child that they adopted. I asked how they decided who would get pregnant first, and she said she went first with Ava and then her wife had Max. So I was like, how did you have Ava first if Max is older than her? And she said, Max is actually younger than her. So I said, how old is Max? And she said 9. And I said, how old is Ava? And she said 6. And then I asked her what her legal name is, and she said, Olivia. So I wouldn't exactly say I trust these things. Now, as pointless as this seems to me, though, there's a significantly more popular version of this called Character AI, which apparently already has 20 million monthly users. It's got a bunch of chatbots in it designed after real people, so you can pretend to talk to real people. The company is valued at around $1 billion and is built entirely off the likeness of real human beings, none of whom gave permission and are not being compensated. So there's probably a whole legal can of worms here that needs to be addressed at some point. But I did find out that I'm on the website, so I can finally live my dream of getting to talk to me. What do you do?
I make silly YouTube videos.
Oh my God. It has my voice?
Off of Toshto, where I just reacted to the internet.
Are you married?
Nope.
No.
I have a longtime girlfriend, though.
When did they program this, like 6 years ago?
Are you old enough to be married?
Am I old enough to be married? Brother, I just told you I'm 12.
Hey man, school sucks, but make sure you are still in there learning.
Well, this is probably the worst piece of technology that's ever existed. I do see one use for it, though. Can you tell me about today's video sponsor?
Sure thing, big guy. This portion of the video is brought to you by SoFi, the ultimate finance app helping you bank, borrow, and invest all in one place. And we're also working together to give $10,000 to someone watching this video right now.
Like me?
No, someone else. But more on that in a second. SoFi checking and savings is great because you can earn up to 4.60% APY on your savings, which is 10 times the national average savings rate. That means in just 5 weeks with direct deposit, the money in your SoFi high yield savings account will earn more money than it would in an entire year with a big bank savings account. And you should be making your money make you money. With SoFi checking and savings, you get paid up to 2 days early, pay no account fees, and you can cash in on up to $300 when you sign up with direct deposit. And on top of all that, SoFi and I are giving away $10,000. All you have to do to enter is sign up for a SoFi checking and savings account with my link. That's it. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now to enter for a chance to win. Just make sure you're using my link because it's the only way to enter. Thank you SoFi for sponsoring today's video. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much.
Great.
A couple weeks ago, I was looking for stock photos and I ended up on Adobe Stock where I noticed something strange. One of the first results had this very weird artificial look to it. And sure enough, I zoomed in and realized, oh, that's because it's AI. That's why the road looks like that. That's why none of the words are legible. And then I kept scrolling and found more. Again, words spelled wrong if they were even words at all. In this one, the tape just kind of disappears into the headlight of the car. I don't think that's how they usually set that up. Now, if it wasn't bad enough that what's supposed to be a database full of real professional photographs has been completely diluted with unusable garbage, if I did want to license any of these photos, it would cost me $80. $80 for a photo someone generated by typing police car. This has no value. Actually, this has negative value. You should pay me $80 for making me look at it. The reason people spend money to license photos and videos is because it's something that they don't have the resources to create themselves. Like there's a website I have a subscription to because they have professional stock footage that I would rather pay to be able to use than attempt to make on my own. Tons of YouTubers use this, tons of production studios use this. This is an entire industry that generative AI is threatening to destroy. But what's so infuriating about AI stock footage is that in order for it to exist, it had to be trained on real stock footage. So this isn't some technological innovation that came along and just does things better. Get with the times, man. No, it's straight up stealing from the people it's now competing against. In the case of Adobe, they outwardly state that if you've uploaded something to their database, they use it to train generative AI. It's not even debatable if they're doing this. It's literally written in their terms of service. Here at Adobe, we're all about empowering artists to help them make money off of their work. Unless, of course, we can make money off your work, in which case we will do that instead. The degradation of the internet as a resource database is something I think everyone should be concerned about. Like, if we already have real photographs of specific situations, what is the point of being like, and this one is kind of the same thing, but the computer made it? Why do we need that? What value is this adding to the world? I think it's bad enough when generative AI is used to create works of fiction because, again, it has to steal from actual artists in order to generate anything. But to use it to try to create photorealistic images that end up near the top of search results with no immediate indication that it was artificially engineered, there's something about that that feels wrong to me. I don't understand why we're in such a rush to replace all of the work that humans have done. Something that happened a few months ago that I feel like kind of flew under the radar was when it came out that Netflix used AI to create photographs in a documentary, not a movie, not a fictional TV show. They created photos of someone that do not exist. At what point does this cross an enormous ethical line? Again, we're not talking about works of fiction here. We're talking about literally rewriting history, creating fake documentation from scratch and not even mentioning, hey, by the way, this isn't real. I guess they just hoped people wouldn't notice that all her fingers are messed up and the gap between the door disappears and not a single object behind her looks like something that exists. All for what? So they could have a photo of her looking happy and carefree? But she's a murderer. How could she do that if she likes to party? Like, why can't you just tell the real story? Why even make a documentary if you need to fake evidence in order to make it compelling? But even more importantly, how is this allowed? This is insane. Sorry, I need to calm down. I should listen to some nice, relaxing music. Oh, here we go. Jazz for reading. Perfect. I don't plan on reading, obviously, because I never learned how, but some nice piano music should settle me right down. Wait, why do all these songs sound exactly the same? Who are any of these artists? Seems like kind of a weird coincidence that they're all just first name, last name. Their profile photo is the album artwork of one of their EPs. They have no bio and no links to any social media. Most of them didn't start uploading music until this year, and yet they've ended up in these extremely popular playlists created by Spotify themselves. And what's going on with this guy's foot? There's something eerily non-human about these playlists, and some people have theorized that Spotify might be using AI to create a bunch of songs that they can package under random pseudonyms and then curate these into playlists that they push out onto all their users.
They have AI songs, they attribute them to people that don't exist, and this allows them to take royalties that would go to musicians and keep them for themselves.
I mean, just look at the number of likes on all these. They can advertise these wherever they want all over their app. Now, I want to stress there's currently no proof that Spotify's doing this. I'm not saying for a fact that they are, but it's not hard to understand hypothetically why they would. Spotify, like Netflix, is one of those companies that came in and disrupted the industry by offering a deal that seemed too good to be true, because it was. Wait, for a few dollars a month, I can get access to every song ever made or every movie ever made? How could that possibly be profitable for them? The secret is that it isn't profitable and never has been. But as long as you get in early enough to kill all your competition, establish market control, and raise a bunch of money from investors, it doesn't have to be, at least not for a while. But now it's been a while, and Spotify's getting a little bit more desperate with each passing year. They tried dumping billions of dollars into exclusive podcasts, but ended up just losing a bunch of money and gave up on that. They tried selling a car accessory, but just ended up losing a bunch of money and gave up on that. Then they lost even more money when they had to refund all the people who bought one just because they got mad. Guys, relax. It was only $90 for a thing that doesn't work. And their new plan now is audiobooks, but I'm sure they'll just lose a bunch of money and give up on that because that's what they do. But Spotify's also in a tricky spot because even if you projected infinite growth and they became the only streaming service in the entire world, they'd still have to give up 70% of their revenue to the artists and record labels whose music is the foundation of their product. And that's where this conspiracy comes in. There's a finite pool of revenue every month that mostly gets redistributed back to artists. Well, what if we had our own artists? What if we were to artificially generate our own music for almost no cost and force feed it to as many people as possible? Well, all of a sudden, we're not making 30% on those streams, we're making 100%. Again, it's just a theory, but for a company that struggled to turn a profit for their entire existence, with a CEO who sees zero ethical concerns with generative AI.
I would be surprised if we didn't have already works of that kind on Spotify.
It's not outside the realm realm of possibility. Either way, it's definitely a bleak thought for artists who are already struggling to make a living from streaming revenue, to think the amount of money that each stream is worth could actually decrease. But whether it's because Spotify's filling their platform with AI music or because a bunch of random people are, there's a good chance this is gonna start happening anyway. No human being could ever compete with the volume of output these new tools can generate. Udio can create an entire song in the time it takes me to grab my guitar off the wall. And because of how easy these things are to use, I've already seen a bunch of videos pop up telling people how to game the system to make a bunch of money from Spotify.
Here's how you can make $10,000 per month uploading AI-generated music to Spotify.
Do you know what the best part is? I didn't even make the music myself.
Yeah, that sure is awesome. Personally, I find it really hard to understand why people would be excited about this, other than just seeing it as a quick way to make some money without having to learn a skill or even really do anything. I don't like what they're doing, but I could at least understand the logic of why they would see value in that. But what I absolutely do not understand is people who are excited about this because they think it's going to improve music. But as I scrolled through the comments on some of these videos, I found so many people like that. How ironic. AI music will replace the soulless, crappy music that's being released now, and it will be better and have more soul. Here's the music the guy generated in the video, by the way. Finally, music with soul. So true, exactly. Before the internet, you pretty much needed to find a record label to publish music. Record companies would not bother with what they would consider non-profitable. With the internet and cheap mixing tools, anyone can publish, and as such, we get a lot of garbage out there. AI music could put a quality floor about what is acceptable. So what, so now we can't even fuck around with FL Studio anymore? It has to be deemed acceptable by a computer? And if record companies just had more control, then music would be good again. Just for clarification's sake, I want to know what music they're referring to. 99.9% chance they're talking about pop music, right? Because generally when people complain about music that's soulless, they're talking about what's on the radio. Who do you think is curating the music on the radio? It's the record labels that you love. If making music was more gatekept, it would only make things more lazy and generic. Like, we live in an age now where what becomes popular is more democratized than it's ever been. Sometimes songs just blow up because they're catchy, not because Sony had a bunch of money to spend on marketing. Also, have you considered listening to something else? You know there's other radio stations, right? You know there's like a billion songs out there, right? You don't need AI to make more songs. You just need to get better at finding good ones. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're consistently consuming media that you don't like in the year 2024, that's a skill issue. Please spend 1 hour on Google and I promise you, you will find something else after a short break to drink your own pee. Also, I just hate the way people like this describe art.
It's easy to get carried away and just start having fun creating random styles of music. But here's the key. You want to create exactly the type of music that people want to hear.
Hey, be careful. The last thing you want to do while making music is enjoy making music. That's not the goal here. You should be making songs you think other people will like. That's the key to happiness in every facet of your life. The thing with AI-generated music and artwork and videos as this low-effort passive income method is that it is going to get so oversaturated, eventually it's not going to be worth it for anybody. Here's how you can make $20,000 a month selling mid-journey photographs on Etsy. Okay, but all of the people watching this are gonna go make the same exact art using the same exact prompts and flood Etsy with millions of the same crappy piece of art, and no one's gonna buy any of it. It doesn't matter how much you increase the supply if the demand stays the same. I managed to find one guy who was actually honest about the results in one of these videos. He spent a month doing this and sold one product. And that's probably best case scenario. So you've got more and more people discovering this new side hustle and they're gonna try it out for a bit, maybe make like $4 and then give up because it's not worth it. But the collateral damage from that is they're helping oversaturate the market for everyone, including actual artists whose work was indirectly stolen in order to make the stuff that you're making to compete with the artists. The whole thing sucks, but weirdly, as this technology continues to evolve, I'm almost getting more optimistic it will never deliver on the self self-sufficiency some people seem to think it will. Like, I actually think AI images have gotten worse in the past year. Almost every single piece of AI art that I see has the same style to it, that weird glossy look that's instantly recognizable. It's still getting a lot of the same details wrong. It still doesn't understand what to do with text, and there's no reason to believe that all of that's suddenly gonna change anytime soon, especially as it continues to train on other AI generated images and just eats itself. Okay, so this is how I draw a hand. Got it. Oh, wait, no, this is how I draw a hand? Okay. Oh, no, this is how I draw a hand. The more information you give me, the smarter I get. An AI generated video is an abomination. It has all the same issues as AI images, but adds them to every individual frame, all of which seem to act independently of each other. There are no rules they're following. There's no sense of physics. Body parts shift and morph, sometimes disappearing altogether. Solid objects can pass through other solid objects at any time, resulting in this hellish dreamscape that's impossible to take seriously. And I think that people talking it up are delusional. I decided to put some famous album covers into Luma Labs AI. Here are the results. Fire emoji. The street looks so realistic. Followed when I saw this. Oh man, this is gonna be good. Who's that guy? Why did they all stop and run into each other? What are the cars doing back there? This is mine. Dope. This one is more fluid. You know, it's funny you say that. I actually think they both look like shit. This one's actually pretty good though. I like how it just created two new guys and then covered up the original ones. Man, if that's not a metaphor for what's going on here, I don't know what is. One thing that has been lacking with AI generated video up to now has been emotional performance from our Gen AI characters, but I think we're starting to cross that boundary. Hi, Hollywood. I think I found your next big star. Dream Machine from Luma AI is just 5 days old and it's already turning memes into video. Here's 10 epic examples. Wow, that's so epic. What important technology this is. And useful too. I love when her head snaps around and the front of her body becomes the back of her body. Just like real life. Wait, what? They turned a video of Elon Musk smoking into a video of Elon Musk smoking? Okay, now that's a game changer. If someone could just turn my videos into videos, I'd be set for life. What's that? They already have?
Road work ahead. Yeah, I sure hope it does.
Hey, can you never fucking do that ever again, please?
The magic behind Kling lies in its diffusion transformer architecture. This technology helps it translate rich textual prompts into vivid, realistic scenes.
Realistic? The steering wheel's in the middle of the dashboard, there's 3 windshield wipers, the car is driving the wrong way and no one is reacting to it. That car is driving on the sidewalk. Sure, I guess it's interesting that a computer can create a video from just one sentence, but then what? What's the practical application for this? Are you making a movie about the wacky antics of a troublemaking cat? You couldn't put this shit in a movie. Even if you manage to smooth out all of the logical errors, there's still no style to it. It's not visually interesting. If you wanted this scene to have a narrative to it, you would need to generate so many individual shots from different angles and hope that they all match up, which they won't. The lighting's gonna be different in every shot. The car's gonna randomly change colors because there's no logical consistency with AI. It's just regurgitating information, even if it has to contradict itself in order to do so. I honestly think the distance between this and this is so much shorter than the distance between this and something so lifelike people will confuse it for actual footage. Sure, maybe your 75-year-old grandpa will fall in love with the 4-boobed lady he saw on Facebook, but most people aren't gonna fall for this, especially younger generations. As they grow up with these things being so prevalent, they're naturally gonna train their eyes to be able to spot the differences. When people ask what the point of any of this is, the dorks who defend it all tend to say the same thing. These are just tools to help anyone create art. Yeah, I want to push back on that a little bit. I am wholeheartedly for the increased accessibility of creative tools that help you take matters into your own hands. You want to make a short film? The camera on your cell phone is better than 90% of the cameras in human history. Want to learn how to edit? There's thousands of free YouTube videos that'll show you how. You want to make music? You can buy a professional audio interface, workspace, and a handful of plugins made by some of the most talented artists in the world for less money money than it would cost to rent a recording studio for one day. And all of that is fucking awesome. I feel so lucky to live at a time where you can essentially make whatever you want without having to cross the insurmountable barriers that people did in the past. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need an exorbitant amount of money. You can just make stuff and put it on the internet, and with a little bit of luck, people see it. And there's so many tools along the way that help you streamline the process of getting from an idea to a finished product. But at a certain point, if the tool is just doing everything for you, you are not an artist. You just described what you wanted to make and asked a computer to make it for you. You're also not learning anything this way. Part of what makes art special is that it's difficult to make, even with all the tools right in front of you. It takes practice, it takes skill, and every time you do it, you expand on that skill. Every song you hear, every movie you watch is the result of thousands of hours of trial and error. You can fail 1,000,000 times and use that experience to finally succeed. Making a video using generative AI does not teach you anything about making videos. It's not like you could type 500 Sora prompts and then take everything you've learned to go shoot a movie. There's zero correlation there. Generative AI is only about the end product, but it won't teach you anything about the process it would take to get there. And I think what these tech people will never understand is that finally figuring something out that you've been obsessing over, turning a blank Word document into multiple pages of something you're proud of, is the fun part. That's what's rewarding about making stuff, is figuring it out on your own or with a group of people and getting to share in that feeling. Can AI tools help you figure out things faster? Sure, but it's not gonna feel as rewarding. I understand how tempting a shortcut can be, especially when you go online and you see all these other people doing cool things and you're like, man, I'll never be that talented. It would take me like 10 years to learn how to make music like that. Okay, that's fine. What's the rush? Just start right now. Don't worry about how long it's gonna take. Just take the first step. How are you ever gonna do something for 10 years if you won't even do it for one day? Maybe you won't be good at something the first time you do it. You probably won't. But every time you improve, that's something that you can feel proud of. That's something that you did. Call me stubborn, but I would rather make something shitty on my own than watch a computer make something good.
Write a funny script for the end of a YouTube video.
All right, folks, we've reached the end of this roller coaster ride of a video. If you survived my terrible jokes and questionable dance moves, you deserve a medal. Seriously, someone get this audience a medal. But hey, before you click away to watch cat videos, no judgment, I get it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You wouldn't want to miss out on more chaotic content like this, would you? And hey, if you have any suggestions for what ridiculousness I should attempt next, drop them in the comments below. I promise to consider them while I'm eating my 5th burrito tonight. Thanks for sticking around, you legends. Until next time, stay awesome, stay weird, and remember, life's too short to take seriously. Catch you on the flip side.
Exciting news, everyone. I put my cat on a shirt.
He has no idea she's on a shirt.
Get yours today at drewgoodenshop.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to Watch Mojo's Top 10 Days of the Week. Number 4. Thursday. I love horror movies. I think it's such a fun genre. The experience you have while watching one is so much different than just about any other type of movie. It's funny to look back on all the stress I felt over the years while watching horror movies because, objectively speaking, I wasn't in a stressful situation. I was just sitting on my couch, scared because there's something on the TV. Okay, turn it off. Close your eyes, dude. There's no danger here. Idiot. Some of my all-time favorite movies are horror movies, but also some of my all-time least favorites. Let me tell you about the 2021 Netflix original, There's Someone Inside Your House. There are a lot of things that I hate about this film, but perhaps nothing more so than the title being a complete lie. No, there's not someone inside your house. This movie barely takes place inside of one. You can't just come up with a cool title for a movie and then write a script that has nothing to do with it. I mean, apparently you can because that's what they did, but I don't think you should be allowed to do that. I think they should be in jail. The opening scene was actually pretty good, and from what I can tell, what they named the entire movie after. It opens on a static shot of what seems to be the only house for miles. Truck pulls into frame, guy starts an egg timer, takes a little nap, and when he wakes up, his phone is gone and it's been replaced by the timer. Who put that there? So he goes downstairs where he sees that the front door is wide open. Oh shit, his car's gone? Don't like that. If I didn't know any better, I'd say there's someone inside his house. Anyway, he dies pretty hard and then they play the opening credits. At this point though, I'm invested. Like, this was a creepy and well-directed opening that set the stage for what should have been a much better movie. The synopsis is that there's a secret killer who's also sort of a secret killer, in that he kills people who have secrets. The first guy's secret is that he violently assaulted someone else on the football team, almost beat the guy to death. The second person who gets killed is the popular girl who tries very hard to seem open-minded in public but has a secret white supremacist podcast. Got it. So we're killing people who are doing something harmful to others in private. That's the theme here. Until the third murder, which isn't that at all. One of the only likable characters thus far gets murdered because he has a pill addiction. Okay, send him to rehab then. Addiction doesn't inherently make you a bad person, especially if you're not hurting other people while you do it. Why is he getting murdered over his own personal struggle? Also, this happens at a party where everyone else is underage drinking and smoking. Is that not held to the same standard? Kind of seems like everybody's intoxicated here. But unfortunately, the movie continues. There's now a fourth victim whose secret is, get this, he's gay. So now I'm really confused about the politics of this murder. So you hate Big Pharma, you hate racism, and you also hate gay people. Which side are you on, man? Also, the guy he stabs in this scene was the one who got his ass kicked by the first guy. So you kill one person for doing a hate crime, and then you commit a worse hate crime? Who the fuck wrote this movie? It's around this point where we learn that the main character, Makani, also has a secret past of her own. She was involved in some kind of hazing incident where she drunkenly pushed another student into a bonfire that almost killed her. So now we would be worried about her if this movie gave us any reason to give a shit. But I certainly don't care. She miraculously survives, tells her friends about her secret, and now there's time for one last confrontation. And if I wasn't mad at this movie already, this scene would be the thing to put me over the edge. So they go to a cornfield maze that's on fire and drive a car through the fire, which I don't think is something you can do, but this movie's making me doubt any scientific knowledge I've ever had, so who's to say? What really made me mad though is how stupid this movie thinks we are by foregoing any chance they had at subtlety. We know that the main character has trauma associated with big fires. That's the thing we just learned. So if you're going for symbolism here, just show her face and show the fire and we'll piece together that, oh my God, you're doing a flashback. You're doing a flashback to the scene you just showed 6 minutes ago? Is this movie made for toddlers? I would hope not, because there's a bunch of murders in it. Anyway, turns out it was the angry rich kid this whole time. Who could have seen that coming? I mean, he's probably the only character who could afford to keep 3D printing photorealistic masks of all the victims' faces, but I guess we weren't supposed to think about that until now. Watching this movie for the second time now definitely ruined my day, but I'm not gonna let it ruin my month. Surely there's worse movies out there that could do that. So I had to do a local record store that turned out to have a fantastic selection of horror DVDs and also the 40-Year-Old Virgin, which sounded a little too scary for me. This was the exact mix of classic horror films and straight to DVD garbage that I was looking for. I found some absolute gems here and I could not wait to take them home and force my wife to watch them with me. First up, we've got the 1999 thriller Bats. I love that this movie wastes no time getting to the bats. We open on some couple arguing in their car and they get like 2 lines out before being absolutely ripped to shreds. Then we cut to a cave in Arizona. Guess what? More bats. I could honestly cry. I've never seen a movie so faithful to its title. We're introduced to 2 of the main characters in this movie, Dr. Sheila Casper. No, Jimmy doesn't like bats. Something tells me this is gonna be a really rough day for him. Unfortunately, whatever their mission here is gets cut short when a helicopter lands and a guy named Toby comes out and tells him he needs their help.
I'm Dr. Toby Hahn. We need your help. Immediately.
I have to say, this is the perfect name for someone with that haircut. If you go to your barber and ask them for the Toby, you're gonna walk out of there looking like this. I'm starting to think this movie might have some bats in it. So Sheila the Bat Doctor gets called in to examine the very dead body of the guy killed in the opening scene, where she notices a fang.
That has absolutely nothing to do with bats.
Wait a second, are you saying some kind of bat did this?
I love how many of the scenes early on are just someone being like, I think a bat did this, and someone else being like, bats? The character in this movie by far is Jimmy, who, as we discussed, doesn't like bats and yet chose a career path entirely devoted to them. He's also written to be so dumb. And now that you mention it, I would kind of like to know what's going on with all these murderous bats. I wasn't interested until this moment. Although everyone's kind of an idiot in this movie, so it's just par for the course.
So you're saying that the bats can only infect other bats? Now that's bullshit.
I'll give them a little bit of credit. There are some scenes that are actually pretty scary. I mean, in general, the idea of, you know, being chased by a giant swarm of flying animals trying to kill you is not the worst concept for a horror movie. It just gets a little silly when they start doing some of the close-ups of the bat puppets.
What'd I tell you? Ugly.
This one they just threw into a cage and shook it around. Apparently the bats aren't just hungry for human blood, they're also smart too. They managed to put a tracking device on one of them and then 2 other bats fly in and kill it. It's absolutely hilarious. This is what filmmaking is all about. Oh no, now they're attacking the whole town. Or actually just flying above it, I guess. They attack a couple people, but for the most part, they're just out there making noise. One of them, bat with a T. Tried to tell you. I also like when all the cars just start exploding. What, do the bats have grenades now? Sad news, everyone. Toby died. I guess he was the only reason the bats were in this town in the first place, because they immediately flew away after killing him. Yeah, I bet she's talking about all the bats. Anyway, they turn on the giant refrigerator and manage to outrun all the bats through a cave and up a ladder and down a corridor and up an elevator shaft and out the entrance, all with about a 50-foot head start. Geez, maybe instead of becoming bat scientists, they should have competed in the Olympics, because holy shit. The best. That's the best ending I've ever seen. Actually, that is kind of funny. I was so convinced they were gonna do that thing that bad movies do where they hint at a sequel at the end, just in case, but no. They knew. I think they knew bats would be one and done. As great as that movie was, I'm just glad I can finally watch the behind the scenes featurette and learn how Bob Gunton feels about bats.
They're so ugly. They're nasty looking.
He doesn't like them. I think the 4 out of 10 this movie has on IMDb is just about spot on. But the thing about a 4 out of 10 movie is that it can still get worse. So our journey continues. Up next, we've got Dream Home, and somehow this is actually a pretty substantial step down from Bats. I want you to take a second to really admire the graphic design on this cover. You've got this ancient-looking Victorian house, a ghostly silhouette peering down from the 2nd-story window, a child looking up in fear, the words murder and kill scratched onto the blank part of the DVD cover. None of this is in the movie. Nothing at all. Look at this house, and then look at the house they actually use. Not even close. Right away, I'm getting the vibe that the main goal of this production was to pad the runtime just enough that this can legally be called a movie. During the opening credits, one of the shots they use is of a ghost slowly moving across a gazebo, and it goes on for 39 seconds. Every scene in this movie ends with a fade to black that lasts way too long.
I want that house.
Is it over? But none of the transitions can hold a candle to this one. Listen closely.
Look at the house.
What? Wow, so much is being conveyed in that scene. She wants the house, but he can't even see the house because he's driving. It's heartbreaking.
Leave me alone.
They do such a good job of subtly hinting at her interest in the house.
That house is beautiful and I love it. I want that house. I fell in love with the house. I want it.
I know you really want this house.
Baby, I want that house.
You really want this house, don't you?
Baby, I need this house.
When they meet him stand in a spot with such horrible lighting, but then I realized it must have been a creative choice. I think it represents that beneath his sunny appearance, there's something dark lurking in the shadows. Who is this man? And why are they still so hell-bent on buying you? Oh, okay, well then I won't worry about it. You wanna go ahead and buy the house? Yeah, that's a good idea.
Look at this place. This place has got to be at least 80 years old. This place is incredible, Darren.
Wow, look at how dusty and decrepit everything is. It's perfect. This is where the first and possibly only scary moment of the movie happens. Just remember, you will die in this house. All right, appreciate it, bro. Gee, I wonder if that insane encounter with the neighbor changed their opinion at all about the house.
I want this house.
Not even a little bit.
Man,
Look at all the changes we've made.
Oh, I'd love to, but I can't. The camera's pointing the wrong way. Well, against all odds, it seems like everything turned out okay for them until fuck is happening here. Weirdly, this actually almost works as a creative choice just because of how surreal and unsettling it is. Now, I thought that Faye saw all this as she picked it up, but I would assume that's not the case because if she did, I don't know why the hell she would then put it on. General word of advice to anyone in a horror movie. If you find an old piece of jewelry with a mysterious past, don't wear it. It never ends well. You're gonna take on some sort of curse. While this is happening, Darren heads down to the hardware store to pick up some paint, and he gets to witness one of the greatest line deliveries I've ever heard.
When I first moved into town, my parents...
All this food came from, because that is not what they were cooking. It kind of looks like the crew didn't have any actual food to prepare in this scene, so they just had her boil a little pot of water and a big pot of water, which she stirs and stirs until it turns into this giant meal. Movies are awesome. After dinner, April politely asks for a tour.
I'm ready for my tour now.
And I love how much of the writing in this movie is either that's good or that's bad.
You just don't know how bad that makes me feel. I really don't have a good feeling about it. It's just that I get this bad vibe when I see it. It's like the thing is tied to something really bad. I just get this bad feeling about that cross.
Also, everyone keeps describing the house as beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful house.
They can't get enough of this beautiful home, even though something happened there. But no one will outright say what happened there. They just keep beating around the bush. It's kind of frustrating.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll find out soon enough.
I watched this scene 3 times, and I still have no idea what the fuck she's talking about. Finally, after explaining nothing the entire movie, with 3 minutes left, we finally learn what happened to the house. And I can't even pay attention to it because I'm so distracted by how they chose to film it.
When her mother woke up, she went to Juliana's room. They say you can still see the father walking around the house sometimes. As he walked closer to Juliana's bed, when the townspeople found out about this insane man, nothing. They say you can still see the mother.
And the mom was evil too. And the dad was evil too. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't know what happened in this movie. The best thing about Dream Home, besides how good it is getting to read the reviews from like 15 years ago from all the people who are so angry that they paid money to rent this from Blockbuster.
This was the absolute worst movie I have ever seen. I cannot even begin to explain the way I felt when this was over. I was ripped off. The front of the box looks really interesting. The kid on the bike. Oh yeah, why would he have anything to do with this movie? Duh. There's not even one child in this movie. If there were a way to recall movies, this film should be put in a fire. Take my advice, don't rent this movie, buy this movie, or even watch it on cable. I'm sure you can find better things to do for an hour and a half, like ripping your toenails off one by one.
Damn, seems like everybody hated this movie. But 2 out of 10? It can still get worse. And that's where the Curse of the Zodiac comes in. This may just be it. I think this is the worst horror movie ever made. Now, this movie came out in 2007, the same year as the David Fincher Zodiac movie. So I'm pretty sure this only exists to confuse the then patrons of video rental stores. Honey, this is that new Jake Gyllenhaal movie, right? Probably. It's not like we can Google it. We only have internet at home. But even still, this has no business being as terrible as it is. This is barely even a movie. It's directed almost like a music video, but one that's 80 minutes long and has no songs in it. So much of it is just these constant flashing cuts, and every shot is so overly stylized that I don't even know what I'm looking at half the time. They made some truly baffling editing choices. Like, what is even the point of doing something like this?
Randy, where the hell have you been? I've been looking for you all night.
If I had to guess, I would say that all of this was a conscious effort to distract us from the fact that this movie has no script.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of the couch, you can have the couch.
Yeah.
A stupid pink couch in an orange colored room does not work anymore.
I refuse to believe that the actors are not improvising every line on the spot.
Crazy ain't cool. And it's, you know, normally I'd have fun, you know, hanging out with someone and dating someone that's a little crazy. But this is getting ridiculous.
They're constantly talking over each other or trailing off.
He's trying to, I don't know,
He's trying to make us think, I guess.
As far as the plot goes, it is loosely based on the world-famous Zodiac Killer, but it's sort of like the movie someone would make about the Zodiac Killer if they knew nothing about the Zodiac Killer. Like, okay, he's leaving some clues behind, and there's some symbols involved, but also he shows up in this girl's dreams and keeps calling this detective and saying the same 4 lines over and over again.
In my book, 2 + 2 is 3. Maybe you want to meet in the middle, fat fuck. Make it a 4, fat fuck. Your black eyes, pretty girl. Your black hair, pretty girl.
Half the movie is just him yapping about nothing.
The Sandman, a.k.a. Z-Man, a.k.a. Zodiac. My name is Zodiac. Z-O-D.
Although I do like the way he says San Francisco.
I'm sticking around in San Francisco.
I would say my least favorite character is the world's most useless detective. He makes 0 progress from start to finish and is just confused the entire time.
I'm confused.
They could not have come up with a less interesting character. On the flip side, my favorite character is definitely this piano-playing murder victim who made such a bizarre choice on how he would talk.
Do you enjoy the piano? Yeah. Me too.
You can see him trying not to laugh here.
Whoops. I made a mistake when I was playing.
Honestly, I really don't want to spend that much more time thinking about this movie. It made me feel gross the entire time. It actually made me miss the production value of Dream Home, a movie that had the boom mic in frame most of the time. So this movie was written and directed by Uli Lommel, whose name I'm probably mispronouncing, but let me tell you about this legend. This man acted in over 90 movies. He wrote and directed over 60. And look at this unprecedented run he went on from 2003 to 2012. The sheer consistency with which he was putting out 1s and 2s, you may never see something like this again. I don't know if we'll ever see anyone match this kind of legacy. This is about as badass as it gets. To be so confident in who you are that you can say, yeah, maybe I don't have a story worth telling here, but I'm not gonna let that stop me from making 100 movies. Maybe next year I'll do a deep dive on his entire filmography, but for now, I need a break. This was rough. Well, I hope you all enjoyed watching me suffer through this as much as I hated every minute of it. But if you can believe it, even after watching all of that, you're only now getting to the scariest part of the video. An advertisement.
It's 3 p.m. You haven't eaten in 7 hours and it just hit you. You have no plan for lunch and now you're so hungry you're not thinking straight. So you open up a food delivery app where you spend $47 on 2 tacos that take so long to get to you that by the time they do, they're cold and mushy. You think to yourself, there has to be a better way. There is. Stop stressing about where you're gonna get a last-minute lunch that doesn't make you feel awful and start using today's sponsor, Factor. For me, there's no better feeling when lunchtime rolls around and I remember that I have one of these meals in my fridge. They take less than 2 minutes to microwave and then you're done. You can just eat it. You don't have to cook anything. You don't have to go anywhere. There's nothing to prep before and nothing to clean up after, unless you put it on a plate for some reason like I did. I don't know why I did that. Amanda and I have had dozens of Factor meals at this point and we've yet to try one that doesn't taste great. But on top of that, they also make us feel a lot better than fast food or takeout does. You can pick your meals on the app and see the exact nutritional information every time. You can opt for calorie smart meals. You can opt for meals that have over 30 grams of protein, which is great for jacked guys like me. I'm not even struggling. For me, these meals are perfect for lunch because they keep me full and energized for hours. Time is the single most valuable commodity and Factor helps me save a bunch of it so I can get back to doing the things I love. Editing my stupid YouTube videos. If you want to try out Factor for yourself and get delicious, fresh meals delivered straight to your door, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use my promo code DREW50 for 50% off your first box. Again, that's code DREW50 for 50% off your first Factor box when you click the link in the description to sign up. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video and also for giving me food.
Thank you again for watching me watch 4 terrible horror movies. It means a lot to me that you make it this far into the video. Either you really like hearing me talk, or I'm so boring that you fell asleep 20 minutes ago. Either way, still counts as a view. But unfortunately, YouTube did just add a rule that if you make it all the way to the end of a video that's posted on or before Halloween, you have to give the person who posted it all of your Halloween candy. So, guess I gotta get me a P.O. box. Bye-bye, happy Halloween. Hate YouTube. Hey guy, I talked a little bit about season 5 of Stranger Things in my last video, right before the final episode came out. At that point, I was so underwhelmed by the season as a whole that I didn't expect the finale to sway my opinion about it that much in either direction. But everything that has transpired since then is so fascinating to me that I simply have to talk about it. A finale so tepid, so unsatisfying that it caused millions of fans to craft conspiracy theories about a secret 9th episode, followed by the show's creators going on a generationally bad press run.
I need some fucking money.
And a behind-the-scenes documentary that more than anything else only made the two of them look dumb.
I mean, the thing that's cool is the giant monster.
Let's start with the finale itself, which was released the night of New Year's Eve. That's fine, it's not like I had plans or anything. I don't know why I said it like that. It was fine and I didn't have plans. Here's everything that pissed me off in the finale. 1, the long ass cut to black when Steve fell. Oh no! Oh, thank God. They caught him. This was the most SpongeBob roller coaster ass moment of the entire show. I did not think for 1 second that Steve was gonna die here because nobody with significant screen time ever dies in this show. They didn't even kill off one of the Wheeler parents who got brutally attacked by monsters.
Everyone will die.
It's gonna be okay.
Or Murray, who has no personality and speaks only in quips.
You get too loud in the sack, she shush you?
If he died in some embarrassing and hilarious way, everyone would have given you a standing ovation. But they didn't even have the balls to do that. So I'm supposed to think that we're gonna come back from this blackout with fan favorite Steve Harrington just dead on the ground? No. This is the cinematic equivalent of playing peekaboo. You're treating me like a baby.
The idea of him saving Steve, you know, this is gonna really mess with people.
Unfortunately, one person that does die is Kali. Rest in peace. Not that this contradicts my point at all, because I'm pretty sure she was on screen for a total of like 10 minutes the entire series. She was in one episode 8 years ago, and they brought her back just to kill her. This was played like it's supposed to be this really emotional moment, but I'm sorry, I don't care about this character. She's not part of the show. It actually makes me kind of mad because the Duffers clearly are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want us to be sad when they kill someone, but they don't want to kill anyone who would actually make us sad. And even if they do, they'll follow it up with, or maybe we didn't. Guys, please don't be mad at us. The one cool moment that actually shocked me in this finale was when Vecna tricks Hopper into shooting Elle, and for a few seconds, we think something terrible just happened. It's so jarring and unexpected and serves as this temporary reminder of how powerful the villain is supposed to be. But nothing really comes out of this. I mean, sure, it throws a little bit of a wrench in their plan, but they figure everything out anyway.
This is gonna really mess with people.
Really, this just feels like a big missed opportunity. Why wasn't Vecna doing shit like this the whole season? This guy can give people vivid hallucinations. He could have spent the past few months slowly eroding everybody's trust, making them question what's real, even to the point that they start turning on each other. Think of how much more tension that could have added, how much more formidable it would have made your main villain. Instead, he spent the whole season running a daycare. We spent more time watching him intimidate a bunch of random kids that we don't know than we did watching the relationships of the core characters actually get developed in a meaningful way. Anyway, eventually the gang moves from one blue screen to another, only this one looks worse. And we get to see them walk and talk, and they walk and they talk. And now, it's finally time for the ultimate battle. 10 years of Stranger Things has led to this moment. A climactic showdown between our scrappy group of teenagers and Winona Ryder versus one of the most dangerous and evil freaks the world has ever known, taking the form of the Mind Flayer, a 100-foot-tall beast with sprawling tentacle arms. They killed him. They just jumped inside and chopped him up. The final battle was so quick and easy and so early into the runtime of the episode that I thought surely the other shoe is about to drop. It's classic misdirection. You think you beat the boss, only to realize there's actually a second phase and you already set down your controller. But no, that was it. No Demogorgons to deal with, no Demodogs, Demobats, not even like a Democockroach? Nothing? A group of 16-year-olds with a spear and a flare gun took down Satan himself without even getting a scratch. Dustin has a bigger scar from getting punched by another teenager than any of these people do from fighting this. You know the saying about how if you want to boil a frog, you have to like slowly turn the temperature of the water up to keep him from jumping out? Kind of a weird way to describe that specific phenomenon, but almost exactly how I felt watching Stranger Things in this moment. I don't think it truly set in how far we strayed from where we started until the water was already 200 degrees and my little frog ass was getting boiled. But if you showed me this clip in 2016, right after I finished watching the first season, I would be like, what the fuck? I just finished watching this small town sci-fi mystery noir, and this looks like a scene from Avengers Endgame. And you'd be like, wait, how do you know what Avengers Endgame looks like? That's not coming out for another 3 years. And I'd be like, I don't know. The trajectory this show went on is baffling. The dialogue got dumbed down to appeal to a younger audience, even though, in theory, the audience should have just gotten older, because that's how time works. And for a series that was filled with so many cool elements of sci-fi and horror to all culminate in this ugly green screen action sequence where one character does a big jump is such a letdown. Because of how lackluster this all was, and because we were still like halfway through the episode, I thought, surely there's going to be something more. My anticipation slowly grew into disappointment as I realized the hour of runtime remaining was just a gratuitously long epilogue, filled to the brim with what this season did best. Characters in a circle talking about the things they're going to do.
Thank you.
After all this time, years of investment into the show, and the final word of legible dialogue is fart. No, this can't be right. I don't believe it.
What about all the clues?
The set pieces, they were the wrong color. The song at the end has only been used when something on the show isn't real. Steve wouldn't coach baseball, he was on the basketball team. And what about the clocks? And all of those weird Will lines where he would insist on being cold and he would get facts about his memories mixed up. He must be under Vecna's control. Maybe we're under Vecna's control.
And there's a secret 9th episode dropping tonight. If you type secret ending into Netflix, it takes you right to Stranger Things. The Morse code literally translates to "You did not stop me."
The Duffer Brothers wear two very particular t-shirts.
Right after Steve falls, the screen goes black for 7 seconds.
Why did Netflix release a trailer?
Their graduation colors are orange.
And why are they selling a flashlight?
Did we just predict the biggest plot twist in television history?
That's right. This finale was fake. They made the whole season bad on purpose to get us to let our guard down. But the real 9th episode is coming out on January 7th. January 18th. Sorry, what I meant was during the Super Bowl halftime show.
His face goes dark at 8. Super Bowl halftime starts at 8 o'clock. We're gonna see the real ending.
So this is on Backlit, which is like a casting website. The ability to wear a costume that fully covers the body. My brain went right to Demogorgons.
You know, at first I watched that and I was like, does she think the only full body costume on Earth is Demogorgons? That there's not a single other character they could possibly be dressing up as? But then I went back and watched the show and I noticed something. Hidden in the background of just one frame for a mere moment is a Rocket Money logo. And that can only mean one thing. This video is sponsored by Rocket Money. As more and more one-time payments turn into never-ending subscription services, it's never been easier to lose track of where all your money is going. Today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is a super useful tool to help prevent that from happening. I've been using Rocket Money for like 3 years now, and in that time, they've helped me keep an eye on my budget, realize what subscription services I forgot I was even paying for, and they've even helped me cancel some of them. Instead of being hounded with follow-up questions to make you feel guilty about canceling something, just click a few buttons and let them do all the hard work for you. The great thing about this app is you can see your upcoming recurring charges before they happen. A lot of times you won't remember that you're still signed up for a subscription until you get the credit card notification that you've just been charged. You're like, shoot, yeah, I was supposed to cancel that.
Oh well, I'll just do it next month. Oh my god, I did it again. But with Rocket Money, you can avoid that altogether by seeing when and exactly how much you're about to be charged for. And on top of that, they might even be able to lower some of your monthly bills. I pay less for internet now because I clicked a few buttons on this app and they were like, yeah, no problem, we'll take care of that for you, big guy. So if one of your New Year's resolutions was to get a better handle on your finances, downloading Rocket Money is a great place to start. You can go to rocketmoney.com/Drew Gooden to get started for free. You can also scan the QR code on the screen or click the link down in the description and unlock even more features when you sign up for premium. Thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Honestly, I have to hand it to some of these TikTok editors. These videos are so well put together. For about a day and a half, I was fully on board. I don't want it to seem like I'm making fun of these people because really they were just disappointed in a thing that they love and they were still in the early stages of denial about it. If you go back throughout the show, there's so many lines and visuals that seemed to be foreshadowing something. That's why people had such high expectations, not because they're delusional, but because they thought that all the time they spent paying close attention and analyzing every little detail would be rewarded at the end. But once the time passed and it became clear that episode 8 was in fact the true finale, all of these secret hints that everyone hyper-focused on turned back into what they always were. Bad writing and production errors. And all of that charged up excitement and anticipation turned into rage. Fuck the Duffer Brothers. These guys aren't playing 4D chess. They probably don't even know how to play checkers. It was so interesting to watch all of this unfold because at its core, Conformity Gate was not that different than a lot of other conspiracy theories, almost all of which are simply born out of dissatisfaction with a given answer. I'm probably paraphrasing that ContraPoints video here, but as human beings, we don't like randomness. We would rather ascribe intentionality to something than accept that the world we live in is just full of chaos. It's scary to think that a random person could assassinate a president, so there has to be more to the story. The show I've loved for half my life can't have a bad ending. There has to be more to the story. But sometimes there isn't. Will saying he misses drinking milkshakes at Melvald's even though they don't sell milkshakes is not some 200 IQ misdirect, it was just a writing mistake. The color of this dial changing from gray to red was not an Easter egg for the audience to pick up on, it was just a continuity error. Maybe they shot it one way and then decided that red would pop better on camera and assumed nobody would care enough to make a viral TikTok about it. Regardless, the obsessive nature of Conformity Gate and the collective anger that ensued when these admittedly cool fan theories turned out to be fake almost definitely would not have happened if the finale was just good. If this final episode wasn't so underwhelming, it wouldn't have given millions of fans the motivation to go digging for clues. So while I'm sure the Duffer Brothers never expected all of this to happen, it is still kind of their fault. And now they'd have to deal with the consequences. So then comes time for the press tour, where Matt and Ross would go from podcast to interview to television appearance, addressing everyone's burning questions with answers like, "We don't know. We never thought about it like that." And if that did happen, it happened off screen. Every day for about 3 weeks, I would wake up and see some new quote from the Duffer Brothers that had absolutely no substance. What is even the point of doing all these interviews if you're not going to say anything?
Oh, what happened to Robin and Vicky?
I don't, God, certain things are open to interpretation. I don't know.
I
truly don't know.
I don't know what happened to them.
Ross and I know.
I don't know.
No, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. We just don't know.
And to be fair, not every question demands an answer. You should certainly be allowed to let your art speak for itself and leave some ambiguity in the things that you create. But some of these questions do raise some pretty good points. Like, I thought it was weird that after blowing up the portal to the Upside Down, the military seemed to just go away. Like, sure, they're not chasing 11 anymore, but the rest of the kids did, kill a bunch of them. So I think this is a perfectly fair question for an interviewer to ask. Here's Ross's answer. My guess is they just sort of left. Your guess? Brother, you wrote the show. Hey, what happened to Murray? I don't know. And why did Vecna need exactly 12 kids? No reason. And how come Will didn't feel anything while the Mind Flayer was getting killed? He just wanted to focus on the other guys. Even when they did give answers, there certainly doesn't seem to be a lot of confidence in them.
A lot of people want to know about who unlocked the door in season 1, episode 1, let the Demogorgon in, definitively. Say now?
Yeah, I mean that's Vecna using his psionic abilities through the demo.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Although Vecna didn't exist yet at the time. Sure, he canonically was alive during that scene, but when they were writing it, they hadn't come up with him yet. So what was the justification at the time? It kind of feels like you're just retconning a mistake you made and trying to act like it was the plan all along. Which, to be honest, is not that big of a deal. I'm not gonna grill them on every little inconsistency from season 1 to season 5, because at the time, they never expected the show to go on as long as it did. The only reason I'm annoyed about this is because they said it would be answered. Months ago, unprompted, they were like, in season 5, you're finally gonna know who opened that door. I was willing to move on from this. You're the one who brought it up. Is this what you meant, though? That question would finally be answered on a podcast? I guess I thought you meant you were gonna do it in the show.
Cut me some slack.
I think generally speaking, the reason why people are so bothered by these errors, even the minor ones, is that the Duffers have spent years telling everybody to pay attention to everything. There are no such thing as coincidences. These details that seem random might not be random at all. They're actually small pieces woven into this intricate fabric we're waiting to unveil. And then the show ended with the most cookie-cutter ending of all time. So what the hell were you talking about? Another disappointment with the overly simplistic final fight sequence is that all of these creatures that have terrorized these people the entire show, that we know live in this abyss, just completely disappeared when it came time to fight Henry. It feels like such a huge missed opportunity. So why weren't any of them there? Well, it's because Vecna wasn't ready. How was he supposed to know they were coming? It's not like he's some kind of mind reader. Oh wait, I guess he is. I'm sorry, the omnipotent, telepathic devil creature who can see into people's brains from anywhere in the world didn't know what they were up to. They spent half the season talking about their plans. You didn't want to pop into one of those meetings and take some notes? I'm pretty sure the only time he actually used this power was to figure out where Max was. She was in the hospital, Henry. He knows where she is now. I don't think you needed telepathy to find the girl in a coma. Where the hell else would she be? I remember liking a lot of what they did with Vecna in season 4, but by the end, this became such a stupid character. He's all powerful and all knowing, and yet he got tricked by a bunch of kids. He's bulletproof and indestructible until he merges with the giant monster. Then you just have to jump through his neck hole and hit him with an axe. I liked this show a lot better when the antagonist was more mysterious, when the threat was a demonic alternate dimension and not just the Grinch, but evil.
Yes. This does not bite me in the ass.
But as bad as all those interviews were, nothing made the Duffers seem more incompetent than the documentary that Netflix released about season 5.
Today's a very interesting day. We are shooting episode 8, which isn't completely written yet, so we don't even fully know what's going on.
We went into production without having a finished script for the finale.
Oh. Okay, well that makes sense. The reason everything seemed unplanned and rushed was because it was. It's so funny that they're like, man, a lot riding on this finale. We cannot fuck this up.
You see these shows that people love and the ending falters and they just discard the rest of the show. You can't leave anything dangling. You have to wrap everything up.
And then they wasted all the time they had to write the script and had to rush it out after they started filming.
I never read a script. And we're just shooting it.
I mean, they know how it's gonna end. They just have to, write it down.
It's not like we don't know the ending. It's like it's all plotted out. I just have to write it.
There are multiple crew members stressing out about the timeline that's been thrust upon them because Matt and Ross have procrastinated.
You have a script? No. We don't.
They have all these meetings to try to get some idea of what they need to do, but since none of it is set in stone yet, they might end up wasting a bunch of time.
Inevitably, it's going to change as we keep writing it.
All right.
I mean, just the whole new concept of like what the floor is like. We're gonna get a script and it's gonna be like, oh, there's the other like 70% of business that we couldn't account for.
I feel like there's moments where you can even see the actors starting to lose faith in the show. Like Natalia asking if there's any scientific logic behind something.
It's all very realistic.
Or this clip of Maya giving the blankest stare while watching the footage they just shot. It's really funny to juxtapose some of the responses they've given in interviews with footage from this documentary. Like the answer about there being no Demogorgons in the final fight because Vecna, didn't think to ask for their help is only an attempt to justify the fact that they just didn't want to write about them anymore.
Yeah, I guess I maybe wonder about demo fatigue at the...
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
That's such a funny thing to say because no, I'm pretty sure anyone who's stuck around this far into the show is not tired of seeing the creatures that have been in it since the beginning. That would be like spending the entire Star Wars trilogy building up to a fight between Luke and Darth Vader, and then right when you get to the end, you're like, wait, don't you think people are gonna be kind of bored of lightsabers at this point? And then Darth Vader turns into a spider. I love their response when one of the writers tries to point this out.
There have to be some monsters in the abyss.
I agree.
There has to be Demogorgon, bat, dog, something. It's crazy if there's nothing there, I think.
Wrong. Okay, well, guess that's the end of that conversation.
I mean, the thing that's cool is the giant monster.
Of course, as with most behind-the-scenes documentaries, it is really cool to see how a show this big gets made. The amount of time and physical labor, the creativity from so many different departments, the extremely delicate balance required to maintain all of these moving parts, and in this instance, how these two doofuses fucked all that up.
And then I don't know what the fuck happens to him.
I found this quote from them in an LA Times article that I thought was pretty funny. They were talking about how they went into production of the finale without finishing the script, and obviously they're describing it like it's a good thing because they have to defend their process. But they say at the end, we're not sure if this is our fault, but Netflix won't let anyone do this anymore. They don't want to start filming before the script is done. Surely that has nothing to do with us, though. Now, look, generally speaking, I'm gonna take the side of a creative team over the studio that they work for. I think a lot of what these executives push can be antithetical to the process of making art. In almost every other situation, I would put more of the blame on the studio. But they're talking about how Netflix is breathing down their necks.
We were getting hammered constantly by production and by Netflix for episode 8.
And it's like, yeah, you had 2 years to write it, and you didn't.
It was the most difficult writing circumstances we've ever found ourselves in.
The only reason there's this much of a time pressure is because they wasted 80% of the time they were given. This isn't like a workplace comedy where you could leave a couple scenes open-ended because you're gonna leave room for your actors to improvise. This is the grand finale of a high-budget, narrative-driven sci-fi show. No matter what you write, there is so much production work that goes into it. There are giant sets to build, visual effects to bring to life, the quality of which will almost directly correlate with how much time the artists are given to create them. There are hundreds of people who work on this show, and none of them can do their job until you finish yours. And you've been dicking around for 2 years. I've seen a lot of people be like, why would the Duffers even put out this documentary when it makes them look so dumb? And an important thing to note here is that they're only credited in this for their appearance. They're not listed as editors or producers. I don't think they had any control over what was shown here. Obviously, the show itself is their creative vision, but it certainly seems like this documentary was done entirely by a separate crew who came in just to film some of the process. And who knows what their motive is behind this? Going forward, the Duffers are no longer a part of Netflix. They signed an exclusive deal with Paramount that's about to kick in, so Netflix really has no reason to be loyal to them. In fact, I'm sure they loved the idea of sabotaging them a little bit before they left to go work for one of their competitors. Watching this documentary through that lens, it really seems like they did everything they could to blame the issues of season 5 solely on Matt and Ross. Because really, there are so many things in here that make the Duffers look awful. One of the hardest to watch is this conversation where one of them is talking about how he hasn't had any time to work on the script because he has kids now. And he asked one of the other crew members if he has kids, and he's like, yeah.
I was working when they were young, and,
That's never stopped me from doing my job, though. Dude, I don't think anybody should be forced to work 7 days a week. And that's awesome that you wanted to spend some extra time with your kids, but I can't stress this enough. You had 2 full years. I'm pretty sure there was room in there for some work-life balance. You know, I think the reason I'm so drawn to this, the common thread between the Duffer Brothers and some of the other people I've talked about on my channel in the past, is I think I'm just fascinated seeing someone get too successful for their own good and then end up way out of their depth because of it. Like, just because Jake Paul was good at making YouTube videos for 9-year-olds doesn't mean he should write a book. Just because Ninja was really good at Fortnite for a couple years doesn't mean he should teach a masterclass about it.
My hair was blue.
And just because the Duffers are pretty good directors, which I do think that they are, doesn't mean they're great writers. They talked pretty openly about how that was never what they wanted to do.
Ross and I had no interest in writing at all.
That to them, writing was more of a means to an end, that they would only be given the opportunity to direct if they wrote their own project. And clearly they're good enough writers. They started this show with a really good idea, but I think it's clear that the difference between a good writer and a great writer is being able to finish what you started. It's a lot easier to throw out a bunch of ideas early on in a show than it is to tie them all together at the end. In early seasons, you can do almost anything. You can introduce whatever you want. It almost doesn't even need to make sense yet, because you'll get the benefit of the doubt that it'll all get explained later. You can just keep kicking that can down the road, and that's all great. Until you get to the end and you're surrounded by all the cans you've kicked and you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these? It's too late to come up with answers for all of them, so you just have to focus on the ones you think matter the most and hope to God nobody notices all the ones that you didn't. And unfortunately for Matt and Ross, this show was way too big for that to happen. A lot of these fans paid more attention to it than they did. They noticed so many mistakes that they convinced themselves that they were following the intentional breadcrumbs of a massive conspiracy theory. But watching this documentary only makes the idea that the Duffers are some super genius writing duo with this giant trick up their sleeve honestly kind of hilarious.
We wanted to get it right. It was the most important script of the season.
The thing that's cool is the giant monster.
That these guys were about to subvert the entire medium of television by releasing a secret alternate finale in a way that nobody else ever has? No. It was always going to be the safest ending imaginable. A finale meticulously engineered to ruffle as few feathers as possible. And ironically, by being so unambitious, they actually did make a lot of people upset. I think what the finale and the interviews and the documentary all made clear is that by the end, the Duffers just didn't really care that much about this show anymore. I think more than anything else, they were just ready for it to be over.
In 10 years, when we're talking, are we talking about more stories with these characters? If you're betting men, what do you say?
I mean, I hope not. We don't want to. I mean, we really don't.
I honestly understand the procrastination, because I'm sure it was so overwhelming to sit down and try to write their way out of the corner that they had painted themselves into. When you realize, oh wait, people are gonna remember all the things I've been saying for the past 10 years? I don't even remember all that shit. I think they were so stressed that they were like, you know what? Let's just wrap this thing up, do a big fight, everyone will live happily ever after, and then we don't have to think about this show ever again. But unfortunately, in their rush to move on, they've kind of retroactively damaged the rest of the show. Turns out if you abandon a bunch of plot lines and butcher most of your characters, it leaves a pretty bitter taste in people's mouths. To this day, I've still never watched Game of Thrones because I know how much people hate the ending. No matter how good the rest of the show is supposed to be, it's hard for me to want to watch it when I know I'll just be bracing myself for what's waiting for me at the end. The Duffers said their worst fear was doing that to this show, so it's probably eating away at them to see how people are talking about it, especially since everybody is still judging them on the fake ending. How are you gonna say Conformity Gate isn't real when the evidence is literally right there? Episode 9, Super Bowl halftime show, stands full of Demogorgons, Bad Bunny turns into Vecna, Sam Darnold turns into Finn Wolfhard, and Stranger Things fans everywhere will finally get the ending we deserve. Also, 34-17 Seahawks. Thanks for watching. Last year, I started 2025 off by making a video where I forced myself to cook every recipe that came up on one of my social media feeds. And I guess it went pretty well, because I had multiple people tell me that I was on their YouTube Wrapped as a cooking channel. All it takes is one video and your entire career path changes. I'm a chef now. and there's nothing you or I can do about it. I decided to make that video again for the same reasons I did last time, which is that turning self-improvement activities into content is unfortunately the only way to get myself to actually do them. My goal last time was to expand my repertoire of healthy meals. And then I kind of just made 6 different versions of meat bread. I'm gonna try to focus a little bit more on variety this time. At least as much as I can. My algorithm still hasn't recovered from my protein video.
To make my meals even more convenient, I store them in easy to access areas.
I guess it knows I'm a pretty healthy guy. That's why I've spent the past 4 years gaining and losing the same 7 pounds over and over again. This year though, this year's gonna be different. Yeah, this time will be different. 2026 is nothing like 2025, even though I'm the same person with the same brain.
I've seen so many variations of this. High protein pizza because instead of using dough, you use chicken. And then there's protein from the chicken, and there's protein from the cheese, and there's protein from the pepperoni. In fact, in this entire pizza, if I were to eat it all in one sitting, it would be 179 grams of protein. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm gonna start, as I do with all foods, with 1 bite and work my way up from there. Touch raw chicken, gotta wash my hands. Touch raw eggs, gotta wash my hands. Don't mind me, I'm just grating cheese. I'm following the instructions perfectly. If it looks like there's a little bit of a different kind of cheese in there, it's not because I accidentally put in the mozzarella when I was supposed to do Parmesan. It wouldn't be that because I know how to read. I wouldn't make a mistake that simple. Oh yeah, that's looking real nice. God, why must you give your hardest battles to your weakest soldiers? I wanna lick that bowl clean so bad. I can hear Bim Bim running around like crazy. She loves pizza. She's never had it before, but she fucking loves it. Ooh, that's what I like to see. I'm not dying tonight. This is the first time it started to smell like pizza. And what do I do first, the pepperoni or the cheese? I didn't work at Papa John's like my friend did. I worked at a snow cone restaurant. And none of the skills I learned there have translated to real life. You know, if you look a little too closely at the edges, it is slightly abhorrent. But if you ignore that, it kind of looks like pizza. Every step of the process, it's gotten a little bit closer to looking like pizza. And this is as close as it's gonna get. Okay, gotta say, so far, pretty heavy on the ratio of ground chicken to everything else. It mostly just tastes like a giant chicken nugget, but just like slimier. Hey, do you want a slice? No interest at all. That's not a good sign. I honestly love all of the parts of it that aren't the ground chicken crust. Probably because everything else is just regular pizza ingredients. So that's the part that tastes like pizza. I love how all of the top comments on this video were like, that's way too much to eat all in one sitting. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, I'm struggling to finish half. I don't think I'd eat the whole thing with a gun to my head. It was a pound of chicken, 2 eggs, a whole bunch of cheese, pepperoni. I think that's all of the ingredients. Most things with this much protein don't taste this good. I would give that like a high B to a low A. Oh God, that was a lot. All right, pulling double duty today. I got some chicken mozzarella sticks that this guy's just like pointing at. And on the side, this. Honestly, looks good. Might be the only ethical use of cottage cheese I've seen in an Instagram video. I do love how many of these videos start off with, did you know? Before saying like the weirdest bullshit you've ever heard. No, actually, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could bake cottage cheese into chips. Where the hell would I even get that information? Really running out of space already. I think I'm only gonna be able to fit 6 on here. If I'm going to all the trouble to do this, I'm not gonna only make 6. All the trouble to do this, and I'm just putting cottage cheese on a, on a baking sheet. My standard for what counts as cooking is so low. I have a bigger baking sheet. I'm gonna use a different one instead. I'm just doing 6. I'm just gonna do 6. I don't even know if I like them yet. I'm like, I gotta make 100. Okay, and now we wait 35 to 45 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna air fry these things.
I'm just now finding out that if you take 6 cheese sticks and a pound of ground chicken and wrap the cheese sticks in the chicken, you get stuffed chicken fries that are low-cal, high protein, and taste absolutely phenomenal.
What do you mean, why are you just finding this out?
Why am I just finding out?
You clearly watched someone else's video, and instead of sharing it or stitching it even and giving them credit, you just took a bunch of screenshots that you can point at and be like, oh, did you know about this? What the heck?
I don't know if that's insane.
This video is peak short form content. This is a guy who understands that nobody is ever making any of these recipes. They just want to look at them. They just want to be impressed by new information. Wait, guys, exciting news. Hulu just updated their terms and conditions. Sorry, this is the only way I could think to do this. The important thing is, it's gonna be fresh. And they say being a YouTuber isn't hard work. Vimeo wants me to feed her. I've always done this thing where when daylight savings time comes, I normally feed her at 5 o'clock, but then daylight savings comes and 5 o'clock becomes 6 o'clock. And now she doesn't know that. She doesn't know the difference because she doesn't have clocks. She doesn't use clocks. She doesn't have a cell phone that tells her the time is different. The time is the same to her every day. So when daylight savings time comes, I feed her at 6 o'clock instead, right? That used to work, but recently, with this last time change, she begs me right at 5 o'clock that she wants food. And so then I'm like, who gave you a clock? Cats don't know how to tell time. How does she know that 5 o'clock is now 6 o'clock? And so 5 o'clock, which is what used to be 4 o'clock, is when I should feed her. Because if I start feeding her at 5, then when the time changes back, I'm gonna have to feed her at 4. And then the following year, I'm gonna have to feed her at 3. And then before you know it, I'm waking up at this fucking sunrise to feed my cat. Everyone in the world has the same air fryer. When you see a video and they talk about air frying, it's the one with like the handle that you pull out and the parchment paper. I don't have that. I have a toaster oven / air fryer. I'm just gonna use it anyway. Okay, wasn't so bad, huh? The more turd-shaped, the better. I think those look pretty good.
Seems to be delicious.
Yeah, maybe I didn't do a great job mincing the garlic. Maybe I got a little lazy about it. These are gonna be interesting. It looks crispy on the outside, but there's no way it's cooked through on the inside. Isn't it cool that instead of showing you what I can see, I'm just describing it to you verbally? Exactly what the visual medium of YouTube is all about. I'm curious if they're totally stuck to the bottom. I don't see why they wouldn't be. I made no attempt to make it not stick. What did I expect? What did I expect would happen? This is so bad. Where did I go wrong with such a perfect recipe? How could this have happened? In the meantime, we have one in the back that is burnt to a crisp. The other ones don't look cooked at all. And that I probably burnt the shit out of. I couldn't have timed this any worse. I'm gonna put it in a bowl because all my plates are in the dishwasher right now. Holy fucking shit. Oh. Yikes. This is not a chip at all. This is just hot cottage cheese. You know, this one's kind of done. There's one thing I know about cottage cheese pancakes. It's that you don't want to overdo it. Got these. I didn't have to make this video. The range of colors on here is so small, from light gray to like a slight brownish gray. I'm probably not gonna make these again. You know what? These are actually pretty good. And it's not just because I'm so disgusted by these that anything would have been better in comparison. I think I made something tasty. I guess it's because at the end of the day, no matter how bad of a job I do, it's still garlic and cheese. It's kind of hard to make those taste bad. I don't know if I would make it again because I didn't really enjoy the process of making it, but now that I have it made in front of me, I'm definitely gonna eat them. I'm never doing this shit again in my life. Each bite is like a slot machine of, is it gonna be too mushy or too hard? Probably gonna give that one like a D+. The chicken mozzarella stick thing, that's an A-. It tastes really good. I just didn't like making it. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. I put today's sponsor, SoFi, in the oven. One of the simplest ways to build wealth is to actually earn interest on the money you make, but most banks give you next to nothing, a fraction of a %. With today's sponsor, SoFi, you can change that. When you open a SoFi checking and savings account and set up eligible direct deposit, you earn a competitive APY, and there's no account fees. That means your money isn't just sitting there, it's working. Every dollar you earn in interest can earn more interest, and in time, that growth really adds up. And right now, when you open a new high-yield savings account, you can get either a $50 or $400 cash bonus with eligible direct deposit of at least $1,000. You'll even get paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. So start putting your money to work. Head to SoFi.com/Drew, click the link down below, or scan the QR code on the screen to learn more. Thank you to SoFi for sponsoring today's video. All right, now it's time for dessert. Very exciting day today, or actually tomorrow will be the exciting day. This is like a 2-day process and I'm starting it today, but eventually it will be exciting. I was getting so many Instagram reels from this guy who makes these creamies, I guess they're called. I hate that word. I hate using that word, but I'm gonna have to say it so many times during this section. But yeah, this guy's made like 1,000 creams before and he's like a cream expert and he wants everybody to taste the cream that he makes. I got this machine and I paid for his recipe book because I'm all about supporting independent creators. And also it was the only way to get the recipes. I also had to buy a bunch of random crap for this. Monk fruit sweetener, cake batter extract, vanilla bean paste, an entire 12-pack of Prime Bites protein brownies, so I could use half of one of them, cocoa powder, and also black cocoa powder. He specifically specified to use both of them. I don't know what the difference is. I guess they listen to different kinds of music. And of course, none of this would be possible without xanthan gum. And nothing else. Wow, I haven't done an unboxing in so many years. I hope I remember how. We're gonna start with brownie batter blizzard. Now comes the scary part, the part that uses a motorized blade. Pint number 1, complete. Okay, maybe it looks a little bit less like ice cream and more like a tall poop donut, but I don't hate it. And now for the best part, the half of a brownie. Okay, well that didn't go so well. Oh yeah, I don't even want to eat it. I kind of just want to look at it. I need to enjoy this moment for as long as possible. The moment where I think it's going to taste really good. Because I know as soon as I take a bite, I'm gonna be disappointed. But in the meantime, I'm just excited that I did something correctly. You know what? I might just be saying this because this took literally 24 hours to make and I would be so disappointed if it sucked, but it doesn't suck. And to think just one day ago, this was a regular protein shake and also 12 other ingredients. It's just really cold on my teeth is all. I know it looks like I'm suffering. It has nothing to do with the flavor. It's merely the temperature. One of the best cups of shit I've ever had. Now, to be clear, it very much does taste like if you turned a protein bar into ice cream, which is to say, it's kind of good, but not as good as the thing it's pretending to be. I'm just excited about all the doors I've opened up with this machine, all the different variations of cream that I can make, and you better believe I'm gonna make them all. Raspberry cheesecake. Well, I just made a horrifying discovery while editing this video. I made 3 of these creamies a few days ago and I've slowly been eating them one by one. But this raspberry cheesecake one just did not turn out right. I thought it looked pretty good, but it was so thick and had literally no flavor. It had the consistency of cream cheese, but tasted like the container that cream cheese is sold in. And my dumbass was like, stupid recipe. Must have been the cream master's fault. Surely it wasn't anything I did wrong. No, here's what happened. I was supposed to put in 1 gram of xanthan gum and 40 grams of artificial sweetener. And instead, I put in 1 gram of xanthan gum and then another 40 grams of xanthan gum. That was only 17? Now, if you don't know what that is, because I didn't until about 10 days ago, it's basically like a binding agent. You mix them into foods like this to make them thicker, so when you pull it out of the freezer, it actually has the texture of ice cream rather than just being liquid but colder. And clearly, a little bit goes a long way if you only need to use 1 gram. I used 40 times as much as I was supposed to. And also didn't put any monk fruit powder in. The whole time I'm eating it, I'm like, man, this shit is thick as fuck and isn't sweet at all. Yeah, I think I figured it out. I think I cracked the case. It is so embarrassing for me to watch back this footage and see how confidently wrong I am throughout the entire process. How at first I was like, oh yeah, now this looks like ice cream. Okay. That is definitely a different texture than it was a second ago. Cool.
I think this works.
It's not supposed to look like that yet, you moron. Also, how optimistic I, for some reason, was even after tasting it and being disgusted.
I guess I did too much milk.
How confused confused I was when it took forever to clean afterwards.
Just spent like 5 minutes scrubbing this. Maybe it's just the cream cheese.
Nope. This texture looks way better. I'm using an entire monk fruit for this.
You know how when you leave ice cream out for a little bit, it melts? I left this sitting on the counter for 6 hours, and when I came back, it looked exactly the same. Whatever this is, it is not ice cream. I think I accidentally created a substance never before seen by humans. This feels like the beginning of a sci-fi horror movie. Like if I don't dispose of this properly, it's going to come to life and kill me in my sleep.
I know I'm like 2 years late to this trend, but I knew I had to hop on the cucumber bandwagon. You've probably seen this guy at some point.
Sometimes you need to eat an entire cucumber.
Who is almost surely an industry plant on behalf of Big Cucumber. I took on one of his recipes and also another one I found, which essentially has just turned into a bowl of beef. These always look so good. I totally understand the appeal of these. Cucumber is such a blank slate of a food that you can apply any flavor profile to it whatsoever. And that's what these each are. This one's more like a pickled onion beef thing. I make my own pickled onions because I like putting them on sandwiches and in tacos and stuff. And so I just kind of threw those in here. As you could see by this B-roll footage, deceptively hard to shake these things up. I spent a couple minutes trying to shake these things, and even still, all of the cucumbers were on the bottom. That's why I had to take this out of the container and put it in a bowl. And then this one, I don't know what I was expecting, putting a glob of thick ass cream cheese in here, that it would just like break apart and evenly disperse throughout the container. No, it's all in one glob still. Huh. There sure are a lot of cucumbers in here. I saw a comment on this video that was like, it's pretty good, but if you don't rock with cucumbers, it's probably not for you. And someone was just like, why the fuck would you make this recipe if you don't like cucumbers? And now in hindsight, I am kind of like the first commenter. For something that required no cooking, and it's just throwing a few things in a cup and shaking it up for a couple minutes, it's not that bad. And now for this one, you know what this tastes like? It tastes like if you filled a bowl with beef and cucumbers. These are both fine. It's a salad adjacent meal, so your expectations have to be a little tempered. But I have to say, I think I disagree with this guy's catchphrase.
Sometimes you need to eat 2 entire cucumbers.
I don't know if that's true. The cucumber is my least favorite part. I should have just made a bowl of beef. Whatever, just proves what I've always believed, which is that you should never trust a man who bleaches his hair.
Did you know if you have blueberries,
a tub of vanilla Greek yogurt,
chia seeds,
mix in banana pudding mix,
maple syrup or honey,
and stick in a bunch of Nilla wafers,
your favorite type of milk,
before fridging overnight,
you get this high fiber,
delicious
chia seed pudding.
Banana pudding.
Honestly, I think this is too sweet. I think it just didn't need the honey. It's already pretty sweet from the yogurt and the blueberries. Man, if I think that's too sweet, I wonder how I feel about this. I don't think I needed to use as much banana pudding mix as I did. The one in the video was like a slightly off-white. This is extremely yellow. Almost looks like scrambled eggs. That's pretty good though. I love banana pudding. Honestly, the best banana pudding I've ever had in my life, Buc-ee's. I don't know what they put in there, but that shit was good. I do think it's funny to act like 88 grams of protein is like a lot for this when they're talking about the entire tub. Depending on how many vanilla wafers you put in here, it could be like 1,500 calories. And it's unfortunate that the only way to get that number lower would be to put less vanilla wafers in here when that's by far the best part. Otherwise, you're kind of just eating goop. I just woke up about 20 minutes ago, and I think it's a little too early in the day to stomach this much cold mush. This is one of those that looks really good on camera, right? Because the texture changes and you can run the spoon through it and it looks so fluffy. And it is pretty fluffy, but then you eat it and it's just mushy. B for this, C+ for this. Time to start my day. What the hell? I just want to eat something normal. No, I'm just kidding, man. This is my favorite one so far. The theme of today's recipes? I'm so glad you asked. Balls. And I'm not talking penis. First up, a 2-ingredient air-fried cheese ball, which is what my friends call me behind my back. And then this chickpea onion thing. Just by looking at this, I already know that that red onion taste is gonna be lingering in my mouth for 3 hours after I eat it, but how can you not love this guy's voice?
Along with a teaspoon of paprika powder.
I wish my voice sounded like that. Then maybe my friends would stop calling me a cheese ball. Hell yeah. I love that. I love when things do that. Yep, I'll definitely be using the rest of this for something. I could have used a bigger bowl. Smells good, looks good, but does it taste good? I don't know. I haven't eaten it yet. Into the oven. Now, you would think with a 2-ingredient recipe, I couldn't possibly mess it up, right? How far could I stray from something so simple? Well, one, I was not about to spend 45 minutes grating an entire block of Parmesan, so I bought a prepackaged kind. And also, it's not even just Parmesan. It includes 2 other cheeses. So if it turns out bad, we know who to blame. Joe Biden, actually. Yet again, time for my favorite part of these videos, where I just stick my hand inside something. You know, between me and Stranger Things, there's never been a more lucrative time for Foley artists who specialize in squelching noises. My hands are going to smell like cheese for weeks. If I went for a walk right now, I would attract woodland creatures from near and far. It's not really sticking very well. If I had to guess, it could have something to do with the fact that I didn't grate this cheese myself. Delicious. Freeze for 2 hours. They don't look quite as crispy as him. It might be because I didn't dry them out enough. You're supposed to drain and rinse them, but if you don't dry them enough, then they're gonna like retain moisture and then they're not gonna be as crispy, and maybe that's what I did wrong. They taste great. I feel like chickpeas are so underrated. Man, yeah, these are delicious. Every type of meat right now is 3 times as much as it was a few years ago. But a can of chickpeas, which has a decent amount of protein and in the right context can act as a protein in a meal, like $1. If you put this in a bowl, some kind of fancy grain, some tzatziki, some sweet potatoes maybe. I just don't have any other slop to put in it. Cheese ball. It's probably the worst lighting I've ever achieved in a video. It tastes exactly the way you'd expect it to. I should have just grated Parmesan. It's too sharp. I don't know if I can eat any more of these. I mean, obviously they look awesome, but when would I eat this? Just gonna make cheese balls for dinner? Yeah, I gotta go eat a vegetable. Hey, let's make some more ice cream. I have to say I'm a little concerned so far. As much as I genuinely loved that first creamy, the second one was more of a failed science experiment, and the third one, I like mint chocolate chip ice cream. That was always one of my favorites growing up, but with peppermint extract, there is such a fine line where once you cross that line, it no longer tastes like a delicious sweet treat, and it kind of just tastes like you're eating toothpaste. Unfortunately, that's where my Minter Wonderland ended up, and it was a bit of a chore to finish. Since I've already messed this up a couple of times, I'm gonna go with a recipe that seems absolutely foolproof. Oreo McFlurry. It's just milk and sweetener and Oreo thins. How could I possibly mess that up?
Did you hear what I said about not messing this up? Just want to make sure you heard that.
Milk time! This is the amount that I was supposed to put in last time. Jesus Christ. And not that this had as big of an effect on the final outcome, but I also forgot to put a pinch of salt in the last time. Crisis averted. You know what else I like about his recipes? He says to use Oreo thins with the cream removed because it's fewer calories. I love that the calories of the cream doesn't count because I'm not putting it into the ice cream. It's so much healthier this way. I think I've created the appropriate texture this time. It doesn't already look like ice cream, it's just a little bit foamy.
Shit's good as hell.
That's a relief, future me. Or if it's bad, I'll be like, shit. Now this next one, I'm a little concerned about. It's a Dr. Pepper float. Now that sounds delicious to me. That's not the part I'm scared about. I'm worried because I don't think he wrote this in the way that he meant to. Because typically with a float, you would take the ice cream and then you kind of just pour the soda on top of it. He's saying to put the Dr. Pepper in and then blend it. I just cannot imagine a world where a freshly carbonated beverage inside this blender machine could end in anything other than disaster. And that's exactly why I need to do this on camera. If his typo causes me to explode, well, at least I filmed it. Getting a little high there. Honestly, that's kind of already good as is.
All right, well,
here goes nothing.
12 seconds later.
Who could have seen that coming? Kind of the worst possible outcome, because on one hand, it's annoying that I'm gonna have to now clean this up. And on the other hand, it wasn't even that interesting to look at. I kind of just made a mess for no reason. Yeah, the bad news is I have to waste a bunch of paper towels, but the good news is I discovered something delicious. I'm gonna drink these every day forever. Kind of an annoying chore I just chose to give myself, but maybe it'll be worth it. That's up to you, future Drew. What do you say?
It's fine.
All right, thanks, buddy. Well, I think we've had a lot of fun here today. Whether we've been making shit or even crap, I've learned a lot. I spent a lot of time scrolling through my bookmarks to find the perfect recipe to end this video on. And I realized that the best recipe is the one that feels authentic to me. And then I found this. Not only do I have an entire website devoted to hot dogs, but I think I've made it pretty clear that the only thing I feel comfortable cooking is meat bread. This is perfect. Is this meal healthy? No. Will it help me reach my fitness goals? No. But does it look like something I'll accidentally eat all of in one sitting just to spend the next 2 hours complaining about my tummy ache? Yeah. It does. And of course, just like every recipe I've made so far, I'm swapping out one of the ingredients for a different one. I went to 2 different stores looking for this prepackaged French bread, and I was not about to go to a third. The only problem with using these crescent rolls instead is that they come pre-perforated, but I feel like as long as I don't rip it, it'll still all be one sheet. I don't know, man. I'm making hot dog bread. It doesn't have to be perfect.
I just forget how to open these.
Oh, that's right. That's how you do it. This looks French enough to me. I don't see any reason why this can't work just as well as the other bread, except for all of the lines and holes in it. Don't make fun of me, okay? You know you'd be just as scared. Okay. Maybe besides the perforation, the big difference between the 2 types of bread is that this one is not nearly as thick. But you know, what's the fun in doing something correctly? Where most people would look at this recipe and think that the bread should mostly encapsulate the hot dog, I say, what if instead the hot dog just sort of rested gently on top of it?
Gotta have the sesame seeds. Gotta have salt. Definitely not enough salt in the hot dogs already. The question now is, hot dogs long ways or hot dogs short ways?
Each with their own merits, for sure. We're doing it, guys. We're creating bread. This is what they ate in the Bible. Yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Into the oven. I'm not even saying this is a joke. This is the best smelling food that I've made so far in this video. I feel like I just walked into an Italian bakery. Tell me that doesn't look good. Tell me you wouldn't eat that. And come on, like how unhealthy could it really be?
3,200 calories plus the oil. Plus, I don't know how many for the hot dogs.
And I don't have ketchup and I don't have regular mustard, but you know what? I do have a bunch of random ass condiments. Surely one of these will be good. And now I've got a whole flight of hot dogs. Between cooking, cleaning, and shopping for gifts, the holidays are stressful enough. So why don't you take one of those things off your to-do list? Make hot dog focaccia. Trust me, your kids are gonna thank you. They're gonna be like, whoa, this is way better than the crap that Dad usually makes us eat. Yeah, usually his cooking's so bad, I don't even have any respect for him. I hate that guy. That guy's the worst. Be like, okay, kids, a funny joke. And they're like, no, Dad, we're dead serious. Some of the stuff you usually feed us, we have to pretend to eat it. Because if we actually eat that, we'd be in the hospital. But don't worry, Dad. Now that you've made us hot dog focaccia, we'll finally love you. And that's what Christmas is all about. Thanks for watching.